Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first race of Touring Pro Series Winter 2013-2014 campaign. We are here for the first round of Season 3. This is the 2013-2014 Virtual Mini Challenge, the third time we've actually run the minis in Touring Pro Series, and it's the first of 4 championships that will be running all across winter going into the new year, and it should plan to be a fantastic sequence of championship which hopefully will keep you warm and keep you excited over the winter time. We start, of course, with our season opener, a double header of races here at the fantastic Curitiba circuit in Brazil, where we are hopefully going to see possibly whether or not Robert Visimula, the reigning champion, can retain his crown, or whether his teammate, Chris Butcher, who finished second in the championship, can do anything. And also the return of the previous Virtual Mini champion from 2012, Peter Dweevelaar, is back once again, as well as a whole host of top drivers to see if they can get their hands on the 2014 crown. Before we get started, let's introduce you to the commentary team for this season. I am Scott Woodwiss, of course, been a voice of Touring Pro Series and also many other championships across the way. And joining me in the commentary box is the man who kept me company for the Bathurst 500 and hopefully going to provide a lot of laughs and a lot of insight over this season. It is the magnificent Mr. John Munro. Good afternoon, John.
Yeah, good afternoon, Scott, and good evening to everyone else. Welcome to the Virtual Mini Challenge Season 14, and it's going to be an absolute stunner. We already know it. We've been watching the last 2 seasons, and they have both lived up to expectations and more, and this season will be, of course, Scott, no different.
Yep, certainly got that right, and of course we are moving forwards into what's going to be a very packed schedule going across the winter time, going into the new year 2014, and we're trying to get these things off in the best possible way. The first calendar we're going to look at here, before we look at the virtual mini calendar, is one of our other championships, is the Virtual Touring Masters. Of course, now we're going to be using for that as John's switching around the calendar's got a bit too quickly. Let's start with the Virtual Supertech series, of course, because we are running the virtual minis on Game Stock Car 2012, not 2013 just yet. But we are going to be running them on the 2012 game. And first, we'll start with the Virtual Supertech series, which, of course, is a very well-loved series based on the Brazilian V8 Stock Car Championship. And as you can see, the calendar is up on your screens right now. And I'll have a look through it myself once I get a better understanding of how it all looks. But looking through that calendar, it should be a very hotly contested championship. If you think of Brazilian V8 stock cars, I always think it's a nice little hybrid of looking at DTM, V8 supercars with a bit of NASCAR thrown in there as well, which should be a rather awesome thing. So we're going to be starting off this coming weekend on Saturday in Curitiba, with then Jerez, Fuji, Jacarapagua, Brasilia, Cascavel and Sebring as the layout for those championships. And then moving on to the next championship which we've got lined up, which is going to be one which moving on to the Virtual Touring Masters. Now, before we've always used the Touring Car Legends mod, the old Group 8 cars. This season we've moved on to something a little bit more powerful. We've gone for the old Group 5 race cars that were used in the DRM Championship. So cars such as the Ford Capri Zaxby, the BMW M1 Coupe, Lancia Beta Monte Carlo Turbo, and so on and so forth. Fantastic series of tracks have gone on here. We've got the old Spa layout. We've also got Salzburg Ring. Also, Lakefront Airport in Cleveland, the old version of Hockenheim, a much fancied circuit for drivers to race on. The old Österreich Ring, which is also right now known now as the Red Bull Ring, and then the old Fuji layout of 1992, and finishing off at Mount Panorama in Bathurst. And then a championship which everyone's been looking forward to, has been very hotly anticipated. Yes, as you can see at the top there, it is for the very first time in Touring Pro Series history, we are running our very own Virtual Carrera Cup. Now, this is a championship, of course, which is, of course, the real-life equivalent, which is, of course, the Porsche Carrera Cup, is probably the fastest and most popular one-make series in the whole world. And we've taken, I think, the cream of the crop from different national leagues in order to try and push forward with different championships. So we're going to be starting in Monza, then Lebanon in France, Road Atlanta in America, moving on to Norris Ring in Germany, Thruxton in England, the Jyllands-Ringen in Denmark, and finishing off once again in Bathurst. So John, some fantastic championships, some fantastic circuits we're going to be visiting today, and I think it's safe to say that if anyone's looking for some touring car action and suffering withdrawal symptoms from the fact that, of course, the touring car season, the motorsport season is winding down, I think it's safe to say you'll find some entertainment in one of these 4 series across the winter.
Yeah, of course. It's not just a case of being one of the 4 series. You will find massive entertainment across the board. I mean, Touring Pro Series just provides such fantastic racing. I know it's been so highly anticipated, and we've all been sitting here waiting for the winter series. And you know you've got a world-class league when you spend months and months waiting for these series to come along, and that's exactly what is happening for you right now. And of course, Scott just took you through all the championships that are going to be running, but of course tonight is the Virtual Mini Challenge, so we will head on into the game to give you your first sight of some action. And as you can see, they've just begun the qualifying session with 9 minutes to go. And we will, of course, give you a rundown throughout the broadcast of a few of the drivers, some information, and we will keep you up to tabs with everything. And the man you can see right now who was fastest in practice is Chris Butcher for THR Red. Now, we watched Chris, of course, through last season. He is one of the highest regarded members of the Touring Pro Series. He's been around and been a competitive racer in almost every single series he's entered, and he is definitely going into the season as one of the championship favourites, Scott.
I think, yeah, definitely Chris Butcher. I think you could safely say he's one of the best drivers in TPS to have never actually won a championship. He came close last season, battling with his teammate again for this season, Robert Wiesenmuller, who of course carries #1 on his THR Red Mini Cooper, and of course he's going to be up there as well. Two cars below him in the times at the moment are the two ice cold cars. They were feeling very confident in practice. Of course, that's the Swede Erik Strana, who was immensely quick in some of the latter end of some of the series at the end of the summer championships, such as the Tom Onslow Cole Clios and the virtual V8 supercars. And now he's trying to carry on that form into the winter here with the virtual minis. And he's up there in second with Eric Tveit, the youngster. I believe he's only about 15 years old, but showing incredible pace in third place. And at the moment, running line astern with teammate Strana in qualifying. Some other names to have a look at. P4, the EKT Portugal mini of Portuguese driver Miguel Neto. Again, another great performance from him so far in that standing. And also the champion Robert Wiesenmuller down in 5th at the moment. Of course, but he has this, of course, is we're looking at. Of course, this is the order they finished up in practice. Of course, the qualifying times you get to come through. Another driver's in there as well. The driver we think we have to look at, of course, is Peter Dweevlaan. He was a very strong presence in Season 1, and he was the champion, of course. He's come back for Season 3 after missing a season in these minis, and of course he's carrying #3. So how much of a threat do you think he's going to be, John? Of course, he's someone who was part of Precision as a team that you're part of right now. I'm not sure if you ever worked with him at all at Precision, but what kind of a caliber driver do you think we're looking at with Peter?
Well, I think the introduction of Peter back to this series, or the return, if you like, of the season, the 2012 champion, it just adds such a big mix, because we don't really know what to expect. We've not seen Peter, you know, we didn't see him last season up against Wiesenmuller, who won the championship. We didn't see him up against, you know, your race winners such as Strand, Tveit and Butcher. And the interesting thing is, Dweevlaar's come back with Walk Racing, you know, an up-and-coming team that have been very good on race department as the first times are posted, and they've never really managed to cut it quite at the top level just yet in TPS, and he's joining this team alongside Ryan Callan, who is, of course, one of the admins here at Touring Pro Series and has helped a lot getting this broadcast set up, so we've got a lot to thank him for. But yet, Dweevlaar poses an incredible threat, because he's not always been known for 100% pace, but of course he has massive pace, and the other thing about him is his consistency in racecraft is second to almost nobody, so he's definitely a dark horse for this championship. And, well, you say dark horse, he's probably more like one of the favourites. I think he was equal top of the ranking, the TPS ranking predictions for this season, and there you can see him there in the Walk Racing car. I never actually worked with him at Precision. I joined after he had already left, but of course, you know, if you are a follower of Touring Pro Series, you will know how much of an incredible driver Dweevlaar is. So that really does give you a look at some of the championship contenders. Another one, which being Rasmus Salo, as you can see there, in 10th position currently. Now, he joined THR Blue, or he joined THR, I should say, quite recently actually, and since then he has been on fire. He's been winning races I know he won a race in the Tom Onslow Cole Clio series, and he's been incredibly competitive across the board, and he is definitely the definition of a dark horse for this championship. So yeah, those are some of the drivers. Of course, we'll introduce you to a few more as the qualifying session goes on and throughout the race, but why don't we go for a run through of a lap on board with our current leader Chris Butcher, because he's about to start one.
Absolutely, right, so coming down the front straight here along board with Butcher as he continues to set the pace now, down towards turn 1. A very tricky braking zone here, because the corners come up one after the other down here, so you come under the brakes at the 100-metre board. He's following teammate Robert Wiesenmuller for the slipstream. You head right, and then you almost skip over the curb here on the left-hand side, and then right once again as you head onto this back straight. They call it the Recto Aposta, very similar name to the one that you have on Interlagos. And then you head down this back straight towards a very tricky right-hander. It's slightly uphill as you go to on the exit as you come through the approach. This corner is called the Entrada do Miolo, which is very tricky. It's almost got like got two apexes to it almost, as it's a long right-hand. A lot of strain on the left-hand side tyres on this circuit, because of course it is going to be a circuit that runs clockwise. And now we cut with Robert Wiesenmuller down towards Pinheirino, the hairpin here. Very tight left-hander. The exit to all these tight corners is absolutely crucial. You then head towards the S's. very high speed. It's very daring to see how much speed you can take through these corners, because it's always a bit more. You can take a lot more speed through than I think you actually believe you can already. Rumble with Robert Wiesenmuller, who is now the fastest man on track, so he has managed to leapfrog his teammate. I think possibly.
I think Chris is actually disconnected. I think that's the reason Scott had to jump there.
Okay, that's the reason why. So Wiesenmuller has actually gone to second quickest, and not too far away his teammates. So the two championship contenders from season 2 already setting the pace in qualifying. Then this long Vittoria corner onto the pit, back onto the pit straight, which then sets you up for a fantastic slipstream opportunity. And the thing about these minis, John, is the fact that they are incredibly aerodynamic, as Wiesenmuller continues to do, at the moment at least, until Chris gets back, of course, with this connection, is faster than the times. But effectively, he's now second, because I believe Chris is back in. Yes, he is. There he goes. Thing about these minis, John, is that they're incredibly aerodynamic. We saw that with the Clios, of course, which is a series that you raced in. And the thing with the minis is that you can get a real good slipstream on them, like the Clios. So how important is it for these guys to be getting a good run off corners, like the final corner that we're seeing Eric de White take right now, in order to gain the best possible advantage down the pit straight? Because it really is. We're going to be seeing a lot of that throughout the race, and indeed throughout the season.
Yeah, of course. I mean, on this track in particular, that's got to be one of the main things a driver needs around this track, is to be able to get a fantastic run out of that last corner. Because in these minis, you know, it's all about being really careful on the throttle and getting the best, cleanest possible exits. As we see someone almost crashing into Eric de White there, it looked like a smile car. But yeah, it's all about getting the best exits, because of course in these minis, slipstreaming is a massive part of things. And I'm just looking at the standings actually. The man in 4th, wondering if he managed to get a slipstream in that lap, because Jonathan Ockerclinth is currently in 4th position in qualifying, and I believe if Jonathan manages to qualify somewhere in that top 5 or top 6, I believe that would be his strongest ever qualifying in Touring Pro Series, because that is a fantastic effort, quite frankly. Although I'm just noticing that Chris Butcher seems to have left the server again, so maybe going through some issues.
I think if I'm correct, because I was doing a bit of research on some of the drivers beforehand, I think that Ockerclinth may have got himself possibly 1 pole position. Let me just confirm that at all at the moment. He has actually got 3 career poles in his 130 starts that he's had in TPS. He also has 1 win, which he scored back in the ATCC Season 5 at the Hungaroring. In terms of his mini record, his best qualifying ever was 5th for the first race at Brasilia back in 2012. So if he can improve on that, then yes, if he does manage to qualify P3, that will be his best ever qualifying in minis. But he has taken pole positions before in his entire TPS career, so he's no stranger to being on the front row at least, which is pretty good. Now, one driver I did want to mention, who I think is going to be a very dark horse, is the man in 5th position at the moment, George Talbot. Now, this guy I know him from when he hosted his own league, which was Sim Racing Online. And of course, you know, John, that you raced in that league also, so we both know just how ferociously quick this guy is in a tin top. He was racing in the SRO Touring Car Championship, and of course that was using the rear-wheel drive BMW E90 S2000 touring cars, and he was immensely quick, even though it was his own championship. And he's a very capable driver behind the wheel of a touring car, and it's no surprise to see him in P5. He's only about, I'd say, 2/10 or so off the fastest time. Let's see if he can go any quicker on this lap. Across the line he goes, and he goes to still stay 6th, but he's only 4/10 off as he heads down towards start another lap with 55 seconds left to go. So, of course, John, you raced against him. We're not sure how much you went wheel to wheel with him, but what kind of a driver do you think, what kind of caliber driver are we looking at in George here? How much of a threat do you think he can pose to the front runners this season in minis?
I think he's a massive underdog, and well, I say underdog, I mean he's one of these guys that not many people will be expecting to win, but I seriously think he's got a good chance. I mean, as you were saying, I raced with George in SRO, and it was actually my first ever sim racing league outside of iRacing, so it was the first experience I had in R Factor. And George was the man who really did seem the best driver in that championship. He, of course, administrated there and was, I'm not sure if he actually led the championship when it came to a premature end, but he definitely was the man who was fighting for race wins, and he seemed like the quickest guy. So he is one of the guys I always look up to in R Factor. You know, the first championship I've ever done, and he's the fastest guy. Of course, I'm going to look up to him. So George Talbot is definitely another one of these dark horses. I mean, that's the thing with this field. There's such a good strength and depth in these minis. We don't know who's going to win. I mean, looking at it right now, you've got the likes of Toby Davis down in 11th, Dweevalar down in 13th. You know, there's a lot of big names that aren't near the top. And speaking of the top, we really do need to be looking there, because qualifying is at 0 seconds remaining, which means the final drivers are going to be putting in laps. Strand goes second, and Butcher and Strand are not going to improve their times. So also Wiesenmuller is in the pits. Eric de White seems to be the fastest guy that's still on track. He hits that curb quite hard into turn 1. and he's going to be gunning it now down the backstretch. Let's see where he is after the first split. But the first 3 guys, none of those are going to improve. So the best position Robert can start in the grid is 3rd, Strana 2nd, and Butcher, of course, is provisionally on pole position, but with no chance to improve. So Tveit was down a little bit through the first sector, but not much at all. Now coming through this long sweeping right-hander, very tricky corner on this track. But we know how good a driver Eric is. He proved it he's proved it all through his career in Touring Pro Series. Sometimes he does lack motivation, as Miguel Neto goes into 5th. But sometimes he does lack that motivation. But when he is on fire, he is one of the fastest guys in the whole series. I mean, we saw it in the what was known as the World Touring Masters last season. He was the only man who could take the fight to Jesper Tolberg, and he won 3 races in an unfancied Rover. So he's definitely a man to watch. But in this qualifying session, it doesn't look like it's going to be. He's 3/10 off going through that split as he's dropped down to 5th. It's Toby Davis that's gone up to 4th. So he was one of the men I was just talking about, how he was a bit further down than he might like to be. So he's going to get no more laps, so he is up to 4th. Tveit's going to cross the line. I don't think he's going to improve though, so we'll see. Unless he's done a very good last sector, I'm not sure if he's going to improve. The only other man I can see in the top 16 who is in the green at the moment is Jimmy Hughes, so we'll cut down to him in just a second. As Tveit crosses the line, he does improve, he goes 4th, so he knocks Toby Davis back down to 5th. But let's quickly jump over to Jimmy Hughes, and he was green, but he's unfortunately in the pits, so that was a bit of an anticlimax there, Scott. But definitely a competitive start to the qualifying session.
Absolutely, it's a great start, I think, which we're definitely going to be expecting. So, for the moment, then, we do have a grid and a top 10 at least, and it looks like this. So, Chris Butcher is currently the fastest man in the qualifying session, with Eric Strana will start alongside him on the front row. Robert Wiesenmuller, the reigning champion, will start 3rd, with Eric Tveit 4th. Toby Davis managed to move up to 5th, and he'll start on row 3 alongside Miguel Neto. Jonathan Osserklint, P7, great strong start to him, ahead of the Season 1 champion, or 2012 champion, I should say, Peter Duivlar. And then we've got Luis Fernandez 9th and George Talbot rounding out the top 10. Some notable names outside the top 10. Rasmus Salo was 12th. Javier Di Carvalho, another strong guy who comes over from race department, 14th. Pedro Amaral was in P16. And we can scroll through some more of the times. We can see who else has qualified maybe down to the field. And one name that I'm not seeing down there is Ryan Callan. He's down in 17th place. And also drivers such as Scott Sovic down in 22nd. So obviously those guys struggling a little bit at the moment. A couple of other new guys. Lewis McGlade in 23rd, so he's not qualified at the back of the grid. So it's a good effort from him to be starting in 23rd place. He'll start on row 12 alongside Nick Hughes. So I have to say there's a few drivers that you'd say, John, that are a little bit out of place at the moment. Some drivers that you probably would expect to be a little bit higher up the grid, but in terms of who we have in the top 10 at the moment, some definite there's no surprises with some drivers, and some have actually been able to, cause a bit of a stir at the moment. I think the notable ones are probably, in my mind, Jonathan Osserklint in P7 and maybe Luis Fernandez in P9, because I haven't seen him too much up near the front. So unless you can correct me on that one, John, whether it's not he's a strong driver, but other drivers, because George Talbot making a stir on, I believe, his TPS debut in 10th. I believe, at least. Actually, no, it's not. That's wrong, because he did race in the virtual V8 supercars. I do apologise on that one. First time in the minis, though. And also, Eric Tveit looks like he's back on form in P4. So, a nice mix of kind of unexpected drivers in there, with some of the season favourites also in there, John.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got a very good range of field. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be back in just a minute for the first race of 2 in the first round, round 1 from Curitiba of the Virtual Mini Challenge 2014, and we will be back in just a moment.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
And welcome back to live coverage of this, the season opener of the 2014 Touring Pro Series Virtual Mini Challenge here. The season opening rounds, opening races, I should say, from Curitiba in Brazil. And it's Chris Butcher who will start the first race of the championship on pole position, with Eric Strana alongside him. And Chris Butcher's teammate and championship rival from last year, and also reigning champion, Robert Wiesenmuller, will start in 3rd. So, look, we're about 2 minutes away from the end of warm-up, and of course transitioning to the race. Let's talk about a few more drivers then. In P9 from qualifying, Luis Fernandez. Now, he's not a driver myself that I know very much about. I'm not sure about you, John, on that one, but he's definitely put in a great performance to be able to get up there in the times, and they seems to be pretty capable. So I reckon he could be good for some decent top 10 finishes, maybe some potential point scores up there in and around the top 10. Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Luis Fernandez is one of the men I actually put on my predictions for the top 10 in the championship, and this is because I commentated on the Virtual Mini Challenge 2013, and he was definitely one of those guys that could pop up out of nowhere and put his car right up there in qualifying. He got a couple of front rows, I believe, or maybe it was only one front row, but I know he definitely sprung surprises throughout the season. I was always waiting for his name to pop up into that top 5 in the qualifying. He didn't quite match it in race pace, but if his consistency is improved and his race pace, if he struggles a bit less during the long stints, he could definitely be a challenger for some good results this season. And I'm loving that livery. The Sharkskins livery designed by Robert Wiesenmuller looks absolutely fantastic. And Louis this year racing for Smile Power, which is a very interesting team because it contains a few new drivers to the Touring Pro Series. We're going to see if we can find a few of them just now. So yeah, here we go. Lewis McGlade. Unfortunately, you cannot see his car because it's hidden away in a garage, but he is one of the new drivers to Touring Pro Series, along with his teammate Ben Hackison, who is also in the garage. And those guys racing for Smile Power, making their Touring Pro Series debuts. I know I was speaking to them before the race. They're a great bunch of guys, and Lewis is just hoping to finish this one, so let's wish him the best of luck in that. This is a man who's maybe slightly underwhelming in qualifying, Rasmus Salo. He seemed to be down, I'm trying to remember now, I think he was down in 11th, or definitely outside the top 10. And maybe slightly struggling getting to grips with this track. I know a few of the drivers, I was speaking to Xavier De Carvalho before the qualifying session, and he was struggling to find the flow of the circuit. And I know a few of the drivers are agreeing with him on that one. So, maybe it might just be a circuit not suiting some of these drivers, but Rasmus, slightly underwhelming if I must say, so far, but of course he could prove us all wrong in the races as we are about to advance to the race session.
So we're getting ready to kick things off there in Curitiba for the first round, and remember in warm-up it is actually Luis Fernandez quickest in the times, a 1:33.328, and he's about a 10th up on, I'm going to struggle to pronounce his name all season, I think, Arisiuk Razvan. I apologise if I butchered that name.
I think we all do.
I think possibly. There's a lot of names we've got to try and get in there to try and do that. It's typical for commentators to butcher some drivers' names. Certainly can't butcher Chris Butcher's name because Butcher's actually in there. I've never said that Butcher 3 times in that space of as many seconds, but probably never will again. But I think we have now gone towards the warm-up set, towards the race session now, because the warm-up is now over, so we're getting ready to kick things off for the first race of our winter campaign for Touring Pro Series. Of course, with this, we've also got the Virtual Carrera Cup, the all-new Virtual Carrera Cup, which I have to admit is looking absolutely fantastic with the calibre of drivers which we've got on them. We'll probably talk about that very quickly in the break between races. Also, the Virtual Touring Masters with the brand new DRM mod of the old Group 5 cars, and of course the Virtual Supertech Series with those big, brutish Brazilian V8 stock car. But for now, we kick things off with the minis, and let's do things Will Buxton style. So, if you would, John, if you kick us off from the back of the grid down towards the front from P27, and we'll get things up until we eventually end up with our man on pole. So, John, take it away.
Yes, of course. The wait is almost over, and the series is about to begin. So, please, everyone, prepare for a fantastic season and something very special. Starting from the back row in this first round of the Virtual Mini Challenge, we have David Nannon in 29th for Smile Power Racing. Ben Hackison is starting 28th. We talked a little bit about him making his TPS debut, and as I said, he will be starting in 28th position. 27th is Kostas Kaloudis. I apologise if I butchered that name, but that's 1-1 for butchering names. A name I'm not very familiar with, so he'll be looking for a good race, and I wish him the best of luck. I need to talk to him after the race and see if I can get to know some of these drivers. Nick Hughes will be starting in 26th, behind Lewis McGlade, the other debutant in the Smile Power Mini, in 25th. Scott Sovic will be starting 24th, and his hope will be to finish the race in the Optimum Sim Racing car. Tommy Oyala for THR is starting in 23rd. Ben Richards for Aerostream is starting in 22nd, and Shell Stenbeck is starting 21st. Now into the top 20, and Arisius Razvan, I wasn't much better than you there, in 20th, and he is ahead of him is the admin Ryan Callan in Walk Racing, so he'll be looking to make up a few positions early on. Thomas Matazowski is in 18th, with Ethan Bass starting a very respectable 17th, and if I can just get round to the order there. Pedro Amaral will be starting 16th, and that rounds out everybody from the back of the field. And now, Scott, if you would like to take us through the top 15 drivers.
Oh, well, indeed. Starting alongside Pedro Amaral P15 is Jimmy Hughes. And now onto row 7, Javier de Carvalho will start alongside Reece Gardner on row 7 in P30. And then P12 is going to be Rasmus Salo for THR. P11, Dan Allison. And then moving into the top 10. 10th is George Talbot on his first race back in the Minis. 9th, Luis Fernandez, fastest in warm-up. 8th, Peter Dweevil, the Season 1 champion. Jonathan Osserclint with a very strong qualifying in 7th. P6, Miguel Neto for EKT Portugal. And then the top 5. Toby Davis, the Tox Clio champion from Season 3 in 5th, and then Eric Tveit 4th for Ice Cold Racing. 3rd, the reigning champion Robert Beeston with the car number 1, and the front row is going to be car number 71, Eric Strana for Ice Cold Racing, and poleman Chris Butcher in car number 2. So anticipation is going to build then, and Chris Butcher and Eric Strana line themselves up onto the front row. I'm not quite sure what Toby Davis is doing. He's lining himself quite out of position. He's actually poking himself way out of line.
That's very
grid,
strange.
but maybe that could be a couple of the cars pointing themselves towards the middle of the grid. We're getting set for 17 laps, and if you've missed TPS, well, it's going to come back with a bang, I'm pretty sure, and we're getting all set for 17 laps to kick off our first racing of the winter. Turn up the volume and enjoy, because this will be an absolute manic fest. I said 2 words to a couple of drivers: expect chaos with the Minis. If they get all to the first corner without any contact, I'll be surprised. Lights are up, revs are up, ready for the first race of the Virtual Mini Challenge of 2014. Lights are out, and we're racing at Curitiba for the first time in the Virtual Minis of 2014. Great start for Butchie, leads off. Strana holds on to 2nd, and Tveit has slotted in behind Wiesenmuller for 3rd, and also to P5. Toby Davis is doing a pretty great job. Osling is up to P6 already, past Dweevil. Fernandez is up to P8. Down towards turn 1 for the first time. Fingers crossed. Get braced, everyone, into turn 1, and Butcher leads it. Strana 2nd. They're all going to pile in 2-3 wide, and somehow they've all got through without any kind of dramas, it seems. I think there's a couple of cars maybe off in the background. No, there was a bit of lag, and amazingly, all 29 cars. And as I say, there was a car off in the background. Couldn't quite see who that was, but they are all through the first corner at least safely. And Butcher trying to streak away as they all jostle for position down towards turn number 4. And Butcher has to lead. Wiesenmuller is now into 2nd place, so he's got around Strana. So the 2 THR red teammates of the championship rivals from last year are up into 1st and 2nd position. Strana holds 3rd from his teammate Eric Tveit in 4th. Toby Davis up to P5 with Osserclint in 6th, Dweevil 7th, and George Talbot 8th. As you see Strana trying to challenge around the outside of Pinheirino on Wiesenmuller. And as they head down towards near the end of the first lap towards the S's, a pretty strong start, and the top 10 starting to try and break away already. But so far, perfect start for Chris Butcher as Strana is all over the back of Wiesenmuller into the S's.
Yeah, it's business as usual at the front of Curitiba as Robert Wiesenmuller gets a bit of a slide on. There's contact between the two. Is Strana going to have a look down the inside into the final corner? It looks like he's holding back for now. But as I was saying, just like it was last year, it's the THR red cars out in front ahead of the 2 ice-cold Scandinavians looking to try and dismantle THR red. Now, it's funny because Chris Butcher was the one man as they come across the line to complete lap 1. He was the one man before this race that said the most important thing would be to break the pack and break the slipstream. And who, of course, is the man that's doing that right now? Chris Butcher with a 0.7 second lead. As we look at this battle for second, Wiesenmuller and Strana and Tveit look like they're going 3 wide. And it looks like Wiesenmuller's holding on to the inside line. He does well to keep ahead, heavily over the yellow curbs, and manages to protect the position very nicely from the reigning champion. And Eric Strana continues to hound the back of Robert Wiesenmuller in 3rd position, followed by Eric Tveit. Just the rest of the top 10 at the moment. Toby Davis up to 5th, ahead of Jonathan Osserclint, who's made a fantastic start and is doing well to hold on ahead of Dweevil. As it looks ahead, there's moves going on for 2nd. And Strana got very sideways there trying to pass Wiesenmuller. I didn't quite manage it, and now he's looking down the inside. He's going to have the inside line to this right-hander, but it's going to lead on to a left-hand hairpin as Tveit looks very racy behind. Is Tveit going to be able to take 2 of them in 1? It looks like a possibility. There's contact between the 2 under braking, and already the Minis have kicked off. Wiesenmuller manages to hold on from Strana. Tveit follows in 4th, sorry, 3rd in this little line. So we've got Toby Davis 5th, Jonathan Osserclint 6th, Peter Dweevil in 7th, George Talbot in 8th, Miguel Neto in 9th, and Luis Fernandez in 10th.
And the fantastic thing is, whilst the guys have been scrapped, Chris Butcher's saying, see you later guys, fight amongst yourselves, I am off. And already he has a 1.3 second advantage over this fantastic trail. Look behind, Toby Davis thinks he wants a piece of the action. He's no strange to being up at the front in front wheel drive cars. He was Season 3 champion in the Clios. He's not been too much of a fan of the Minis, but he is getting himself up there. This is quite intriguing. Some drivers like the Minis but can't get on with the Clios. And look at this, they're all down towards the pit straight. This is all against the pit wall as well. As now down towards turn 1, they're coming in for the 3rd time. Cars darting out as Dweevil trying to dart out as well. As now Strana trying to go to the outside of Wiesemüller, the reigning champion, down towards turn 1, and he might just get it stuck with Wiesemüller. Keeps his nose in front, a bit more contact. Strana over the curves at turn 2. Now looking back, there's the menacing form of Erik Strana in that red and white ice cold racing car. You can tell who it is because Strana's Swedish, has the Swedish flag on his roof, and Tveit will have the Norwegian flag on the top of his blue ice cold car. Behind, you see Toby Davis giving Tveit all sorts of headaches, and he's going to make a dive, I think, also, almost, as you see Tveit closing on his teammate Strana, trying to get the cutback once again on the exit of the right-hander at turn 4. And they head up the hill now once again, and Butcher now still has the 1.4 second advantage, and he seems to have reeled him in a bit more as Wiesemüller seems to have kind of focused more on trying to catch his teammate rather than battling with Strana. But it looks as though the Swede is trying to push him out of the way almost. We said to expect chaos, and the fireworks are really starting up at the front. Now here comes Strana once again, down towards the S's and up towards the Vittoria corner. The long right hand that takes them back onto the pit straight to start lap 4. And Strana's giving Wiesemüller the big hurry up through the S's. This is incredible driving so far. Looking back once again from the rear wing, and Strana is as close as you like. He looked to the outside down towards Vittoria corner, trying to get that switch back once again, and Tveit is also menacing form, and he has managed to find a gap. Strana trying to push Wiesemüller wide, and he has got himself in front for second place, just about. But now he comes to Tveit, he'll use the toe from Strana down the pit straight, and the two ice cold cars are going to just blast past Robert Wiesemüller with the help of that, and now Davis is now slotting in behind his sister teammate, down towards the first corner again. Which way is this going to go down to under braking? Let's find out. Davis tries to go to the outside of all three of them. Under brakes, and Strana's got his nose in front. Tveit up the inside. Wiesemüller tries to close the door, and he has to go across the grass, and he may even lose a place to his teammate. Cuts across, more contact, straight across the front of Erik Tveit. And Tveit will not appreciate that too much. He's only 15 years old, but still, I think he knows what's bad driving when he sees it, and that was quite rough as Wiesemüller and Strana wheel-to-wheel banging panels, incredible. And look at Dweevelaar. Dweevelaar's come up from nowhere. A 5-car scrap for second on lap 4. This is incredible. Oh, more contact. Wiesemüller gives Strana the big hip and shoulder through turn 4, and he's back him into second place. I said to expect chaos, and we're getting just that. This is incredible racing, John.
Just what the doctor ordered. It's THR versus Ice Cold being resumed straight away. Already big contact. Tveit goes down the inside. There's even bigger contact. Stran's going to make the most of that, and that was slightly dodgy by Erik Tveit. Slightly aggressive driving, it must be said, but you have to say the THR guys would probably be doing the same thing. And that is a fantastic big contact. Tveit sideways manages to hold it, and somehow keeps with Stran. That's great driving by Tveit. The more cars sideways in the background as they stream through into the end of this lap. And the THR guys, I have to say, at the start of the last lap, that was some fantastic teamwork to slipstream past the THR boys. Speaking of THR, Robert Wiesemüller retakes 3rd position. And it is now, it looks like Tveit, it looks like there's more contact on the exit of the final corner, and Minis is serving up exactly what we ordered as Chris Butcher sets the fastest lap and is running away at the front. And of course, Ice Cold, I was speaking to Eric, both Erics actually, and their target in this championship and this race is to beat THR, and they're certainly trying their best right now as Wiesemüller's right up in behind Tveit, and it's already starting to get a bit messy, but this is what Minis are all about. As long as there's nothing too intentional and no damage and contact that's slightly too big and dirty or intentional, then it should be good. A little bit of bumping and bashing is all part of the game, and these guys are having a fantastic race right now. Meanwhile, Chris Butcher streams away at the front. He's already got a 3.4 second lead after 5 laps, and in a field as competitive as this, that is ridiculous from Chris Butcher. Erik Strand holds on to 2nd place ahead of his teammate in 3rd. So Ice Cold have managed to somehow get their 2 cars up there, but it's let Chris Butcher run away at the front, and their job now will be to try and protect the 2nd and 3rd place on the podium from the duo of Robert Wiesemüller and Toby Davis as they round the hairpin, one of the most difficult corners on the circuit. Wiesemüller runs a bit wide on exit, but Toby's not going to do anything too aggressive against his teammate. Peter Dweevelaar has been literally shadowing these guys for the last 2 laps. He came from nowhere, and look at the man in 7th. He's the only guy to be holding on to this train, Jonathan Ockerclinth. He is doing a fantastic job, Scott.
He really is. That's the guy I'm just about to mention. Jonathan also doing incredibly well to hold on to these guys up at the front. As we now get a great view looking out the side here from the left rear quarter, looking forwards at Peter Dweevelaar, car number 3. That's the Walk Racing car, the black and gold. Fantastic looking paint jobs in this season. As Butcher with clear air, 132.735, as he pumps in the fastest lap of the race and increases his lead now to 3.7 seconds. And now what's crucial, Strana has just closed out the gap between the 2 cars behind. As I saw, Wiesemüller was diving up the outside, I think, for Tveit, forcing him to outbrake himself, but he has almost over the curves. Again, more contact. And again, Wiesemüller sideways as a result of hitting the back of Tveit. And benefiting from that is Toby Davis. looking to take both. He's past Muller, now immediately in the toe of Tveit, down towards turn 4. And of course, looking on, of course, we've got Dweevlar, and look at that, Davis trying to switch to the inside, dubbing to the outside once again. Also, might look to the outside of Dweevlar as well. So much action going on here. And also, we're seeing Muller now on the back of Toby Davis trying to give his sister teammate a bit of a push here to give him a bit more of a toe. And now we've got Dweevlar looking to the outside of Muller down towards Pinheirino. And look at Osterklint moving in on the inside too as well. But P6, can he hold the line? This fantastic helicopter camera we're using here to show this battle from the air. And as they head down towards the S's, it's still Strana who's second place. He's broken away and he has almost a 2-second advantage. That shows just how good a clean air is if you can get out the slipstream. That was what the most important thing that Chris Butcher said, as John mentioned earlier on. They're all wide on the exit. Tveit and also Davis getting wide onto the grass. That will allow Muller, Dweevlar and Osterklint back into play. And now back onto the pit straight. What shenanigans are going to take place here? Let's find out. So, Tveit still holds it in second place. Car number 83. Strana's pulling away in car 71. Look at that. Tveit, they're all going down towards the end of the pit wall to hold the toe. And now looking back from Eric Tveit, as now looking to the outside once again. Goes Toby Davis. Can he get third position? Car number 20 on the right-hand side as they come under brakes now for turn 1. And can he get it stuck? No, he can't, because Eric Tveit brakes that little bit later, gets it stopped. Oh, he's gone straight across, over the curbs. Now then, sure he'll have to back off to not gain too much of an advantage.
Yeah, he should have to.
He should have to, but towards turn 4 once again, and I think the ambition really is now Tveit's trying to get out of the clear air, out of the slipstream that Toby Davis has, in order to try and help that out, but it might not help him too much as Davis is looking to the outside with a better run off of turn 3. And now he might get the switch back as so many drivers have done already so far, and Davis was lucky not to tip the right rear quarter of Tveit's car, which already has the rear end's been stoved in a little bit from contact with Muller. But it seems to be at the moment that Tveit seems to be the catalyst here, as that while Strana is running up off the road to try and close in on Butcher, he seems to be holding everyone up at the moment. And look behind as well, because George Talbot in 8th is now closed onto the back of the group, making it a 6-car battle for 3rd, as Davies comes up the inside of Tveit into the S's. Can he make it stick? That's brave driving from the both of them. Can he go round the outside? It's the second part. Here's the great curb cam. They're still going hip and shoulder. Elbows him out wide. Davis on the gravel. Muller back up the inside. Oh, more contact as Tveit tries to turn into a gap that wasn't there. Muller back into 3rd position. And look at Dweevlar. And a contact between Davis and Tveit. So I didn't appreciate being shoved wide. Take that, Eric. And now down the pit straight once again. This is incredible. Butcher, another fast snap of the race. And they're still slipstreaming, John. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, this is absolutely fantastic racing. Everything that Virtual Minis is about. And you can see here, it's actually been a very interesting development, because as that looks like, is that Dweevlar taking 3rd? He's going to try to go around the outside of his former teammates. Oh, there's big contact, and he's going to get pushed wide there, and he's going to go on the grass. He's going to lose a lot of time. And
look at Talbot.
Toby Davis. Talbot's getting involved. It looks like Ockerclinth NATO is even getting involved. Look at this. They're about 9 wide as they come out of the corner, heading towards the start of Sector 2. And that interesting development that I don't seem to be able to find time to talk about is the fact that Butcher managed to pull away when Muller was holding up for 2nd, and then Strand managed to pull away when Tveit was holding up for 3rd. So that seems to be, and they're going 3 wide. Oh no, there's big contact to Tveit. Toby Davis is off. This is slightly overly aggressive racing, as to be said.
Talbot's up to 6th.
And there is George Talbot making the move, and he's wanting to get involved as much as possible. There'll be a few drivers that are wanting to get their fingers right stuck in this butter, and it's working well for George Talbot. He's moved his way up to 6th. Jonathan Ockerclinth maintains 8th position, and this is just incredible action so far. We're seeing this crazy train of drivers, and even though the racing may be a bit over-aggressive so far, it's certainly good for a broadcast and good for you spectators, so I'm sure you'll be enjoying this one. As Tveit looks down the inside of Toby Davis once again, he's not going to get the move done there, but he's going to try and get a better slingshot out of the final corner, as we're going to see if we can go on board with Tveit from the side camera. Let's see how much of a difference this slipstream makes. Toby pulls to the inside. That's a very fair defending manoeuvre, as long as he doesn't pull again to the left hand side, because that would be 2 changes of direction. And look how close they are. They're making contact as they head now into the braking zone. We're about to see the brake lights come on, and Davis brakes nice and late, but can he get it turned in? He seems fine actually, and Tveit holds on behind him, but of course there is going to be more contact. Speaking of contact, Talbot's going to take 3rd. Is it 4th? Oh, sorry, 4th. Because no!
Huge contact. Davis is exits the stage right, and there he goes. And, well, that was messy on the exit there. That
predictable.
Was just, yeah, predictable with minis, and Davis won't appreciate that one bit. I think there'll be some stern words afterwards. as Davis continues on. Looks like he's lost a bit of trim on his. I think probably lost the front splitter on that Mini.
Oh, that's a real shame for Toby.
Which is definitely going to help, and that is a shame because Toby's quite prominent in front-wheel drive cars. And well, it was great. I'm not sure if we can get a replay of that, but
unfortunately not with Game Stock Car. But yeah, that's a real shame for Toby Davis. We're not sure whose fault that was because we can't see the replay, but I'm sure there will be words spoken about that one later on, and that was really building up to happen, wasn't it, Scott?
I think really, in some cases, I think maybe Talbot possibly just moved across. We see Scott Sovic is out of the race with suspension damage, so he's obviously gone off somewhere. But that was really a shame because Davis was looking pretty strong. It did look as though that Talbot had a much stronger run off of turn 3, and as a result of that, it was kicking off. And look at this, they're still going for it. And Neto's gone around. Been tagged by Talbot again. And Tvite's just carrying on at the moment. This is incredible. Talbot once again almost tipping him to the rear end. And behind there, 3 wide, Osserklint, Dweevlar and Wiesenmuller side by side down the pit straight. This is crazy. This is absolutely incredible. And because they're all fighting, the back behind, they're slowly starting to come back into this. So let's just see if we can shake this out and find out what's going on here. So the top 3 have broken away. Wiesenmuller's now 3rd. Tvite's now 4th. Neto trying to fight from Talbot down towards turn 1. And Talbot gets the move stuck and he's done. Into P5. Neto trying to fight back and Dweevlar get it muscling his way through as well. Neto got a little bit sideways on the exit. Osserklint is still 8th out of all of this. Dan Allison's managed to move up into 9th. Jimmy Hughes is 10th. Then Fernandez. Look at the caterpillar of minis down towards turn 4. It's absolutely incredible. So that's what, 5th down towards maybe something like 16th. It's incredible. Look, 11 minis. And look at that.
Oh, Nato's going to run wide.
Talbot sells to Nato for dummy, and then Nato tries to pull across, gets contact from Dweevlar, and now as they head down towards Pinheirino, Nato will want revenge for that one. He was given the big hip and shoulder down into Vittoria corner, the last corner. Will he dive up the inside? Yes, he will. And Talbot gives him room. Neto will try and force him to the outside with his fantastic kind of wheel arch camera. They'll go side by side on the exit down towards the S's. It's all kicking off behind as again, there was Osserklint trying to get up the inside of Dweevlar into the S's. Through they go. And Talbot braving it out around the outside. And he just managed to get it stopped a little bit as he headed through. And Dweevlar trying to get his nose back up the inside of Neto now as Tvite's now managed to pull away. And it really is a case that if you can get yourself out of the draft and away from the pack, you can break away, as the top 4 already have, because they managed to get a gap to the cars behind. So it's really just as one car leaves, more cars begin to join down the pit straight once again. And immediately you can see Talbot to the inside to try and break off the toe, but it's not going to work because now Neto has got Dweevlar squirming all over the back of him. And look at the train of cars already behind. This is just exactly what this has brought in. We're on lap 11 now, 17. And now this is Dweevlar moving up the inside of Neto now for P6. Can he get it stopped? Car number 3 outside. Car 24, more contact into the left-hand side door of Dweevlar. Dweevlar goes over the grass. Now up the inside goes Dan Allison. And also,
where did he come from?
There too. Allison's come from nowhere. It's now they're going 202 down the pit straight. John, I think I'll lose my voice a minute because I can't keep up with this. This is incredible.
Yeah, I think we're going to need to try and bring in a few new commentators for the next race.
Yeah.
But look at that, Allison's down the inside of Aukerklint, and I do apologise to the drivers at the back, and we're trying to give you as much coverage as possible, and even can't even say that without an incident happening. But the problem is, we can't go and look at the back, what's happening at the back when these kind of battles are happening for the front positions, but if we take a breath for just a second, hope we don't miss anything too major. Chris Butcher leads the race, 4.1 seconds ahead of Eric Strana, with Robert Wiesenmuller, in 3rd position, the reigning champion. I'm sure he won't be too disappointed with that, but he's still got 6 laps to go. Eric Tvite is in 4th, so it's the 2 Ice Cold and THR cars that caused the battle in the first place, and now they've ran away from it and left the others to pick up the pieces. And George Talbot is one of those men. He's not been afraid to get involved in these fights, and it looks like he's been slightly aggressive in some of these cases, but of course we haven't seen any replays, so we don't really know what's happening, and of course it's input from all the drivers. But it does look like Talbot's getting involved in a lot of these big scraps, but it seems to have settled down a little bit. I still say that they're probably still going to be 6 wide somewhere, but that in minis you could call that settling down. Because Talbot's 5th, Nato is 6th, Jimmy Hughes runs 7th, with Jonathan Aukerklint going down the inside and is probably about to be 7th, and every other car in 9th position.
So let's just try and calm down a bit more, as now we can see Neto now at the inside. As now we've got. That's now Osserklint now side by side with Jimmy Hughes, who's throwing himself into the mix. Now Dweevlar's getting right into the thick of it. And look behind, that's Ryan Callan also. 11th now getting up there to try and give his teammate Peter Dweevlar some support. So if you like, here comes the Walk Racing Cavalry. Down towards turn 4 they come once again. And what's going to happen this time? Let's find out. Now then, we see Dweevlar with Allison all over the back of him. Now Jimmy Hughes trying to go around the outside of Osserklint. Can he get it done? Osserklint a little bit sideways. Dweevlar back up the inside, more contact. Oh, Dweevlar can't leave these guys alone. Now through the S's once again. And this is now, and ahead also see Neto's trying to challenge Talbot once more. We'll look at that in a second. As
lovely
throws
move.
it up the inside. Oh, and Talbot's
someone's off. It's Talbot.
Talbot's off, and that must have been contact with Neto. It must have been contact with Neto because those two were very close on the braking. He slots back into 15th behind Ethan Bass, car 52. And there's a car on the grass. That was Dan Allison ahead. As now we've got Jimmy Hughes and Ryan Callan going side to side. There was a bit of hip and shoulder once again, and they're still going at it. What about on the exit? Well, looks as though Jimmy Hughes has the inside line. Allison trying to make it 3-1 into the last corner. That's not going to work, boys. Careful. And Callan's now going to try back up the outside, but Jimmy Hughes has the run, and now, of course, Allison will get in there too. And also Luis Fernandez, who qualified in the top 10, he's still 11th. Rasmus Solo's down in 12th. But the battles continue on here in the season opener here at the Virtual Mini Challenge of 2014 here at Curitiba. And the top 4 have broken away. It's all about the battle for 5th position, at least. As I think actually now it's about for 6th, because of course now, as Miguel Neto's pulled away, they continue to fight. Callan up the inside now. Jimmy Hughes, more hip and shoulder contact. And again, Jimmy Hughes a bit sideways as Dan Allison trying to force way out the inside. And just in front, Oscar and Dweevler are side by side. That's now going to be for P6, sorry.
I think it's Callan actually with Oscar Clint, unless... No, sorry, you're right, it's Dweevler.
And
Callan behind is defending from Jimmy Hughes. Oh, and speaking of Callan...
sideways! Whoa! What happened there? I think you must have got a tag from either Anderson or Jimmy Hughes. It must have been.
Hip and shoulder as well from Louis Fernandez on the rejoin, and hip and shoulder from Rasmus Salo. So these boys are not leaving Ryan Callan alone, and Ryan's he's looking for the inside line, but he's gonna get the inside on someone. It's Jimmy Hughes, and also there Toby Davis, or is that, no, sorry, it's Matazowski getting involved as well as Callan runs wide. I think every single mini runs wide. The track's not there, boys. It's on-road, not off-road, this Touring Pro Series stuff. And Callan tries to defend. Dweevlar somehow... No, sorry, not Dweevlar. It's Razvan, or is that Jimmy Hughes? I'm getting confused. There's too many new walk cars. I believe that's actually... Is that Razvan with Ryan Callan? I think it is. The 2 walk cars side by side. And yes, it is. So sorry about that. It's Razvan racing for walk. I thought it was Dweevlar for a second. And that looks like Amaral racing with him. In the number 25 car, I believe. Yes, that is Amaral. So he's having a slightly difficult run down in 18th. But let's have a look back towards the front of the field. We've got Chris Butcher, Eric Strand, Visa Muller, Tveit with only 3 laps to go. Nato breaks away in 5th, so it looks like 5th could be his. Dweevlar slightly disappointing 6th, although I'm not sure there was much anyone could do about that because, of course, it was kind of like one big giant mini. So I guess mini's probably the wrong name for it, so there wasn't much you could do.
There was a couple of cars on the back. I think it was one with that man, Toby Davis, trying to throw himself back into the mix, and they're all over the place once again.
Talbot, I think it is. Oh, look at this. Look at this.
This is 4 wide.
6
wide down towards... Almost 6 wide. They're 4 wide at the moment down towards turn 4. That 4 to 1 is definitely not going to go. Sort yourselves out, boys. Come on. Oh! That was Mazepsky sideways. I think it was. No, it was Davis, sorry. Davis was sideways. Now he's side by side, I think, with Amaral. And he's also got Ethan Gardner.
Oh, Reece Gardner!
Well, Gardner moves across and hits the front of Davis's car. I didn't realise he was up the inside. Gardner tries to dive up the outside now of Ethan Bass. And Davis gives a nudge to Bass as well. Then he gets his shove from Gardner.
It's bumper cars.
It is bumper cars. They'd be one home on a fairground. They're on a racetrack at the moment. Down towards the S's. And Davis still up the inside of Gardner. Can he get it stuck? Yes, he can. But how long is that going to last? Because, of course, now we've got to go at the outside. That's Reece Gardner. No, it's not Reece Gardner. It's someone else, one of the other walk racing cars in the background. Let's see. Moving up forwards a little bit further. This is Peter Dweevil battling with Oscar Clint and Dan Allenson. Now, they're going to now start lap 15 of 17 now. And Neto's pulled away. Dweevil has now brought those 2 cars back towards him. And it's all starting to... They all start to settle out into their own separate battles now. It was a huge pack. But now, of course, with all the bumping and boring that's going on, they all start to sort themselves out. Now we've got Oscar Clint now trying to look to the outside of Dweevil into turn 1. A little bit more civilised this time. I'll say that, and they'll start kicking off once again. You watch. And as I said, that Oscar Clint was sideways, as he got a small little tap from Allenson. And then kick off behind. That's number car 52 side, but that was Ethan Bass once again side by side, I think, with Reece Gardner. And now the aerial shot. We see Vlar in the black and gold car. Oscar Clint for Optimum Sim Racing in the yellow, black and red car. And then behind the black, white and red car of Dan Allenson, car number 51. They're battling over 6th and 8th. Rasmus Salo is now up to 9th place now for THR Blue. And now Luis Fernandez running up the top 10. As Matazewski and Callan swapping places for 11th and 12th. Here they come. And Matazewski holding on for the moment. But Callan will try and get the switch back on the exit of Pinheirino. And he can't quite get it this time, so they're still going to run down towards the S's once again, and Malazewski having a brilliant run so far ahead of Callan. Of course, I'm pretty sure that Callan will have quite a few penalties and quite a few protests to deal with after the race, and maybe ones including himself, as Callan tried to squeeze up the inside, saw it wasn't going to work, and instead he goes to a bit of grass.
Not the perfect race.
Again, I think the track's the black stuff, Callan, my boy. And back onto the pit stream once again, penultimate lap then. So, whilst we leave this lot to scrap amongst themselves, in fact, we're going to watch this battle here. So again, Otterclint will try and go to the inside, and Allenson is going to try and tuck in to gain a toe. He gets it from Otterclint, then he'll go to the outside, and they will go 3 wide down towards turn 1. And on the brakes, as David Allen's just pitted with some damage, and Dweevil are moving across, and Otterclint on the braking zone. Allenson round the outside of Otterclint. Can he get it done? Yes, he can. P7,
nice
great
move.
outside pass from Allison to take advantage of it, and now he'll get the toe on Dweevil down the back, straight down towards turn 4. John.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there were only 3 wide there, so it's nothing really to get excited about. But Dan Allison's looking around the outside of Dweevil, and will he cut back? It looks like he might be, but no, he's going to stick to the outside line. Of course, this corner is a double apex, so there's a really good chance of getting a run out of it. As you can see, Allison right on the back of Peter Dweevil at the moment, as we look back from the Dweevil, and looks like Allison's looking around the outside there. Aukerglund's going to come back into the fray, and Aukerglund's down the inside, and there's a little bit of contact, but nothing too serious. Allison manages to hold on to the position and hold on to his top 7. Aukerglund will still be happy with 8th if he can hold it there for just one more lap. It's Rasmus Salo in 9th, just to kind of give you a slightly bigger rundown while we have a breathing spot. Louis Fernandez running in 10th position in that beautiful smile livery. Thomas Matazowski is 11th for THR Orange, which is a disappointing race for those two guys. Ryan Callan is in 12th. George Talbot 13th after a very controversial race, has to be said, but showed great promise. Toby Davis and Reese Gardner fighting for 14th, so I'm sure Reese would be happy if someone told him he'd be fighting with Davis in the first race. Tommy Oyala is in 16th. 17th is Razvan ahead of Pedro Amaral. Jimmy Hughes is in 19th with Xavier De Carvalho in 20th. Ben Richards for Airstream 21st. Shell Stenbeck in 22nd with Nick Hughes 23rd. Lewis McGlade in his debut race still racing in 24th. Ethan Bass in 25th, he's obviously had an issue. Ben Hacks in another debutant in 26th. And rounding out the field at the moment is Kaludis, and the man who said he would want to finish this race, Scott Sovic, is out in 28th ahead of David Nannon, who's obviously had some issues somewhere. So back to the leader, and why don't you talk Chris Butcher through his final lap?
So, what a way to start the season for Chris Butcher. He's got half a lap to go, and he came so close to the championship last year. He's battling with teammate Robert Wiesenmuller, and he desperately wants to get that first championship. He's always been the bridesmaid, never the bride. We'll hope maybe, off the back of this first opening race performance, maybe, just maybe, he might be the lucky man on this occasion. Up towards the final corner for the final time. All he has to do is keep it on the black stuff. He managed to pull away from the carnage early on and has simply dominated the pace. Round the final corner for the final time. What a way to kick off VMC 2014 for Chris Butcher. Finds out the final corner onto the pit straight, and he will take opening honours here at Curitiba for the first race of the Virtual Mini Challenge 2014. Goes to Chris Butcher for THR Red, a brilliant drive ahead of Eric Strana in second place. He finishes 5.1 seconds ahead, reigning champion. Wiesenmuller takes 4th. And then we've got Eric Tveit in 5th, and then Miguel Neto will finish in, I think, P6, and the run for the lap flag is now in sight. So here goes Neto in 5th, Dweevil takes 6th, Allison in 7th, and Otterclint in 8th. Darlow up to 9th, with Luis Fernandez 10th, and then Matsuzuki just beats out Callan for 11th, with Talbot 13th, and then we've got Davis, Gardner, Oyala, Amaral, Razvan, and a run for the line between these two. Who got it? Hughes just beats Carvalho, and there's your top 20. The rest of the field streams through and finish the race. Then Lewis McGlade coming through, Ethan Bass in there as well, and across the line they come. So, what way to start your Winter Series racing in Touring Pro Series for 2013 and 2014. A win for Chris Butcher in the first race of the new season of the Virtual Minis, with, of course, Eric Strana 2nd and Robert Wiesenmuller 3rd. Brilliant stuff. We'll take a very quick break, and we can analyse everything that went on in race 1 and get ready for the qualifying session for race 2. Back in 2 minutes.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
So welcome back to live coverage of the season opening rounds of the 2014 Touring Pro Series Mini Challenge. And the first win of the season goes to Chris Butcher, the man who finished runner-up in the championship last year for THR Red. He wins it from Eric Strada in second and Robert Wiesenmuller in third, with Eric Tveit fourth and Miguel Neto in fifth. The 2012 champion Peter Drievaar makes his comeback with sixth position ahead of Dan Allenson in seventh. John Clint finishes 8th after a brilliant performance from qualifying. Rasmus Salo starts 9th after starting outside the top 10. And Luis Fernandez finishes where he started, in P10. Some other notable drivers outside the top 10, we've got Matuszewski in 11th ahead of Ryan Callan. George Talbot qualified in the top 10 also, but after some very eventful pieces of contact with other drivers, finished 13th. Davis got fired off into the grass and had to end up 14th place. And a few other drivers down the field as well. But kudos to drivers in their first race, such as Lewis McLean and Ben Hackerson. They managed to finish their first events down somewhere around in the middle rungs of the top 20 of the 20s in terms of positions. But still, a great run and awesome stuff there. We're now waiting for the second qualifying session. Now, the first qualifying session was merely just a 10-minute session, which was a free-for-all. You could do as many laps as you wanted. I believe the second session will now be a super pole session, which is pure and simple. All drivers, I think, get, again, another 10-minute session, but they get one single flying lap to try and prove their worth and try and get the best possible spot on the grid. So, John, we can look back at what was an incredible and absolutely fast and frantic opening round. And I think it's safe to say, it's basically you do what you see is what you get with the minis. And we said expect chaos. I think it's fair to say, John, we got exactly that.
Yeah, we're pretty good at predictions, but all I can say to any new viewers to Touring Pro Series is welcome to Touring Pro Series, and in particular Virtual Mini Challenge, because that was an absolute stormer, should I say, of an opener. And I'm not sure if we're going to be able to continue. My voice is completely gone, but no, I'm sure we'll manage to break through our pain barrier. But in a few minutes' time, we will be going into the second qualifying session, and as Scott said, it will be a super pole, which creates a very exciting additive to this already spicy series. Last season, we haven't seen this format in the minis with the super pole, so it could definitely add something very special. Of course, if those who are not familiar with Super Pole, it's a one-lap shootout, and Touring Pro Series have used this in quite a few different series, including the I've actually experienced it in the Tom Cole Clio series and the virtual Clio series, as it was known. And it's just so difficult to get that one-lap spot on, and one little mistake, literally it can put you out of the top 20. I mean, if it's a very minor mistake, it'll, even in the minis, it'll still put you outside the top 10, top 15. And it just adds this fantastic, I'm not sure what the word is, it adds a variable where underdogs can suddenly find themselves, at the front of the grid. And maybe some of the names, like, you never know, you could see Chris Butcher flying upside down across the line in 23rd position or something like that. You just never know what to expect from Super Pole, and I'm sure plenty of upsets will be in store. So, Scott, who was your driver of the race from race 1 then, after that chaotic start?
I'd probably say it's quite tough. I think, to be fair, you have to say from pole, he pretty much controlled it and was not involved in any battles whatsoever. I have to give it to Chris Butcher, I think, because, to be fair, started on pole, drove away, and he did exactly what he said he needed to do. And what was key is that if you get yourself out of the slipstream at the earliest possible chance, then you can just drive away. And we saw as soon as other drivers such as Strana, Wiesenmuller, Tveit, and also even Neto did that, by the time they managed to get out the draft and try and chase afterwards, it was too late, because Chris Butcher had already built up that 5-second lead, and he was able to keep it on the track. No dramas, no kind of silly mistakes, kept it on the track, nice smooth driving, and a great consistent pace, and managed to finish the race and did really well. So I'm really impressed with how Chris Butcher handled that, and I think possibly he is staking a claim now to really gun for his first ever TPS championship. As I said, he's always been the bridesmaid but never the bride, so hopefully this year he could turn that around and finally get his first title, which I think he's long deserved. And I'm pretty sure the majority of the TPS paddock, if not maybe everyone of the TPS paddock, would love to see him take a title finally, because this man on screen, Robert Wiesenmuller, did deny him last season, and that's why he carries number 1 on the car, and why Chris Butcher has number 2. So now the car's now out then to set times for their Super Pole session. A lot of cars rushing out very early, which is quite surprising to see that, as you would have thought that you'd wait for a cleaner pass of the track, but I guess everyone wants to get out and set some quick lap times and try and get them done as soon as possible, while the track is, well, I suppose you could say fairly congested. That's why some guys are kind of backing off and trying to find a bit of space so they don't get caught up in the dirty air of these minis produce, because amazingly these minis do produce downforce and they do produce dirty air, which doesn't really help when you're driving a front-wheel drive car. And I guess we can talk about that a little bit, John. Of course, you've raced in the Clios, you've had a bit of driving experience with the minis as well. For anyone who hasn't really watched much front-wheel drive racing, and of course doesn't know the characteristics of a front-wheel drive car too much when racing, what are the key aspects of driving one of these minis or one of the Clios, like a front-wheel drive race car, that you have to take into account? Because, of course, one major thing you've got to think about is that the front wheels have got to do a lot of work. They've got to do the steering, braking, and acceleration, and they've got to handle some like 200 odd horsepower from these mini John Cooper Works race cars. So there's a lot of things to be done, and you have to take that into consideration when setting up the car, and also when applying your driving style.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of people might say or think that rear-wheel drive cars are a lot more difficult and stuff like that. Front-wheel drive cars are incredibly difficult to get. It's the fine line between, you know, being nice and calm and smooth and fast exits without actually losing too much time in the corners. Because of course with these front-wheel drive cars it's all about corner exit speed. You need to, you know, be able to get the speed out of the corner, because down the straight you're going to gain it all the way through. Of course these cars can suffer from understeer on the way in, so you need to be nice and slow and smooth on the way into a corner. Corner speed, as long as it's reasonably high and you don't drop too much, the priority has to lie on corner exit with these cars. Also, they quite like coasting, I've found. They're quite good when you just lift off the throttle, no brake and no input from either, and just coast into the corners. They seem to quite like that. But of course, even just narrowing it down to front wheel drive cars, these are a completely different kettle of fish to the Clios which I've been competing in. It's hard to describe a difference between them, but they are completely different cars, of course, being run on different platforms, but in general the physics of the cars are very, very different, so it's quite difficult to make a judgment between the two, and some drivers could be absolutely incredible in one and struggle in another. I mean, a good example of that is, I know Ryan Callan won't mind me saying that he really does struggle in these minis, and he's not the biggest fan of them. But in the Clios, he's been very competitive over the years, and it's the same vice versa. Robert Wiesenmuller, of course, reigning champion in the virtual mini challenge, but didn't have a very good season last year in Tom on the Cole. So, there's a lot of different variables, and just because the car's front wheel drive doesn't mean it's the same as other cars around it. But we better keep an eye on these times, because they are starting to flood in, and the man who takes provisional pole is Peter Dweevelar.
The Dweevelar fastest from Strana, and look how close that is between the two. Between the two ice-cold cars. Look at that, there's 1,000th of a second in between them. And Strana's now going... In fact, maybe it isn't a Super Pole session, because I did read on the forums that it was Super Pole. So it looks like there is a normal qualifying session as it was before. Because we did see on the forums, I did read at least, that it's supposed to be a Super Pole session, but obviously that was changed at the last minute, so apologies for what we just told you.
Maybe a bit of confusion there, we apologise for that.
Yeah, do apologise. It's exactly the same qualifying format that we had in race 1. A 10-minute session, free for all, go as many times as you like. And look at the amount of purple on there. We've got Tveit, Salo, Neto, Mataszewski, Talbot, Wiesenmuller, and Razvan all going quicker at the moment. By just about the Salo quicker now by about almost 700th of a second as he glides through the S's and up towards the final corner of Vitoria. And I think we're going to see some times change hands a little bit more as. Follow Rasmus Salo lets the car just drift out wide on the exit over the curbing and onto this pit straight. Very reminiscent pit straight. The concrete they use is similar to how it looks in Sebring, but probably not as bumpy. Cross the line and Salo goes top. 130.920. Look at that, 1,000ths quicker. That's just how competitive these minis are. And more times coming through. Talbot at 33.0, Tveit at 32.999. But look at that, the top. Wiesenmuller and Butcher just come through and just smash that with both 32.6s. So look at that. But look how close it is. Look. It's 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, all 32.9. So look at that, a 10th of a second or so separates them. As Mataszewski goes up with a 32.7. Salo's going even quicker in Sector 1, 6,000ths up. Amaral is in P11, but he's up in Sector 1 also. How's he looking in Sector 2? He's down
only a
by
10th down.
So
I mean, that could still put him inside the top 5.
Certainly could. I think possibly he's going to be up there around, possibly, if he can keep up this pace, maybe somewhere around 3rd or 4th, because Rasmus Salo's on a 32.9, and if Mataszewski carries on, if Amaral keeps on this pace, he's very sideways to the first part of the Vitoria long right-hander back onto the pit straight, that may possibly cost him another 10th or so, but we'll wait and see as he heads up towards the line. What time does he pump in on his next qualifying lap? It is 133.2, lost half a second in that final sector, and I can't help but thinking, but that error at the last corner where he just stood a little bit wide and got a little bit of oversteer is what caused it, John.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
But look
in these
Butcher,
cars you
10th
cannot
up.
afford. Yeah, we better cut to Butcher actually, because yeah, as you were saying, in these cars you cannot afford just the smallest of slides, and it's a couple of tenths. And in this championship, as you saw, 1,000th of a second is enough to make a difference, let alone a couple of tenths. You know, in real time, it may sound like nothing. In these cars, 2 tenths can mean the difference between first and 10th. It's ridiculous sometimes. And Chris Butcher is going to cross the line. Will he dethrone Robert Wiesenmuller and go in his provisional second pole? He does.
Yes.
That's a fantastic time. A 32.449 from Chris Butcher, the winner from the previous race. And Wiesenmuller doesn't seem at the moment to have an answer for him, but he is just beginning a lap. Reece Gardner's actually gone purple, so let's quickly cut to him. And he's heading through, it's only in the first sector, so that doesn't usually mean as much. Toby Davis also purple, and George Talbot, which usually suggests that Butcher may have not been the quickest in the first sector. As you can see, Butcher's over a 10th up in himself in the first, which means he's capable of a 0.3 or 0.2. But let's follow Reece Gardner anyway, because he's a man who hasn't had much coverage in the Smile Power car. And he's obviously a long-term member of Touring Pro Series, and a great driver and a great guy. And let's see how he can do, because he's only a 10th and a bit off through the second sector, which could potentially, I mean, obviously he would need to match Butcher's final sector, which I think is very difficult to do, but it could still see him, you know, maybe get himself inside that top 10 at least.
And look at the board at the moment is bottom. It's just a sea of green and purple, because there's so many guys on personal bests and also on faster lap times. The top 3 are trying to go through. Butcher hasn't improved. It doesn't look like. Wiesenmuller is now still up by 600ths in sector 2. Madazeski's now also in 3rd and still going quickly also. Sarlo, Dweevlar, and also we've got Davis and Tveit and Talbot are all on personal best. Amaral is up by almost a 10th and a half in sector 1. Incredible time.
Fernandez goes 3rd, and that's the man we were talking about. It might pop up. George Talbot goes 4th.
In 4th. And Davis up to 6th. Also clipped up to 9th. Wiesenmuller comes across the line.
Oh,
and
he does do it.
32.4. That was with the toe from Chris Butcher. Remember, Butcher actually got set his lap time without a toe, because Wiesenmuller was right behind him. Now Amaral is actually going pretty quick. So go to Pedro Amaral for us, and it's just that Fernandez going even quicker in sector 1. So that's Fernandez in sector 1, but Amaral's still quicker in sector 2, I think. Let's see the end of sector 2. Has he lost time? Answer is yes, he has. He's down now by almost a 10th. So that's sector 2. From Wiesenmuller and Butcher must be absolutely electric, because it's incredible. Dweevlar's up to 3rd now, of course. Fernandez 4th, Talbot 5th, Madazeski 6th, and then we've got Davis, Tveit, Sarlo, and Osserklint are now rounding up the top 10. Strana's just on the cusp in 11th, with Neto 12th, and then Gardner, Amaral, who could improve in a second because he is on a personal best at least, and Allenson and Javier Di Carvalho rounding out the top 16. Here comes Amaral across the line. Where will he slot in?
Oh,
the 3rd.
beautiful lap.
32.668. Brilliant stuff from Pedro Amaral. And
Fernandez
is still up.
But the second sector, this is the man we were talking about earlier, but
Oh,
no,
he's run wide.
he's lost it, but he might continue. This is the man earlier we were talking about, never fails to surprise. He always ends up springing a front row start once in a while.
And he has a
and
toe.
he's looking to do it here. He's got a toe, which is going to help him, but that looked like too big a mistake. We're yet to find out. You never know, it might not be too bad, but even if it was, I'm not sure it'd be entirely legal. Let's see if he does go quicker, and he does. He goes 3rd. On a 0.5, but he didn't stay on the track, so I'm not sure what's going to happen with that one.
30 seconds almost left to go. Dweevlar's going to set another time. He's actually doing a personal best. Across the line, stays 5th, 132.730. Strana up to P9, 132.829. So more times coming in thick and fast at the end of this session. These guys are now getting one single lap left. As there's not enough time to get out of the pits and go around. There's not enough time at all. So anyone coming across the line now will get one single chance. And Osserklint is doing a personal best in sector 1. He's up 8 hundredths up on what he did previously. Davis now in 6th position. Hopefully looking to capitalise on what was a rather shaky first race. Did well up there near the top 10. Then got punted out into the green like a golf ball. And then they managed to rejoin and just finish just inside the top 15. So he managed to carry on. Osserklint there with a great finish in the top 10. Definitely found his feet in recent times, in fact, because Osserklint in the in the Clios, I should say, in the second half of the season, especially the final couple of races, he really did find some form and some pace, and he was actually pretty decent. Just that, in fact, he just lost out because he just got rather unlucky. So hopefully he'll be able to have some better fortunes in the minis, because of course he has maybe add to those 3 career wins he's taken across his TPS career out of his 130 starts. He's one of the most experienced drivers in the field. And he's going to look forward. It's look, see the amount of lock that goes on through that corner for these minis because of the fact they're front-wheel drive. And now down the pit straight he comes. Off the clearance will come across the line, and where he slots himself into the field. Still 13th, as Strana is also on a personal best. So what can he do? Is the flag has gone to, time has gone to 0. Checker flag is out, and it looks as though unless any other cars are out there doing personal best, I see Fernandez is out. This has just managed to get a lap in. So we'll see what Fernandez has in his first sector, and he is, no, he's down by almost 2/10. So it looks like he's abandoning that lap. He knows he's not quick enough, and he will start third. But a great effort anyway after starting 10th in race 1. Now Davis is only down by 11 thousandths of a second in sector 1. So potentially, if he can hook it up, he won't have advantage of a tow. But Davis could spring up a couple more positions if he plays his cards right here, John.
Yeah, definitely. Toby's looking very competitive at the moment. This lap looks good. I'm not sure if the first sector was Reese Muller's strongest point. I think the last sector seemed to be very good from the 2 THR boys, and the slipstream will definitely help that. But let's see where Toby's going to be after sector 2. You never know what to expect, so we could see something crazy here. Toby's going to cross the sector point, and we don't, funnily enough. He's only a 10th down, but he is up on his personal best, and looks like he's going to quit back to the garage, so maybe not. And we are advancing sessions. So that is qualifying over, and Scott, if you'd like to take us through some of the qualifying results there.
Yeah, we'll quickly go through the top 10 at least. We've got Robert Wiesenmuller then on pole position, and his teammate and the winner from race 1, Chris Butcher, will start alongside him, so that should be an intriguing spectacle to watch out for. Luis Fernandez, what an effort, actually from DC both on the second row. Row 2 is Luis Fernandez P3 and Pedro Amaral P4 with 2 fantastic laps each to get themselves just behind the THR Red duo. Peter Dweevlar will start 5th alongside Toby Davis in 6th. George Talbot slightly improves his Q1, his qualifying from race 1, and starts 7th with Thomas Madazeski in 8th. And then the 2 ice cold cars down in 9th and 10th this time around, so couldn't exactly find the same pace they found in the first qualifying session. They'll have to try and battle their way through a couple of other drivers, notable drivers outside the top 10. We see Rasmus Salo only 11th. Oscar Clint, after his race 1 performance, is down in 13th. Miguel Neto's 14th after finishing 5th in race 1. If we scroll through a bit further, we can find some more drivers who are down the field. I can see probably a couple of the drivers we didn't expect are down there. Ethan Bass 17th, Javier de Carvalho 18th, Ryan Callan only 20th, Scott Sovic 24th. And probably a couple of other drivers did actually exit out, because we did have 29 cars on the grid for race 1, so that's that. Now, whilst we're in warm-up, I think it might be a good time to possibly just let you know of what's coming up later on this week, and of course next week, of course, because we've got some more series coming up. Starting off, of course, this weekend, we do have the season opener for the Virtual Supertech series. Of course, that's going to be this weekend at the Curitiba circuit once again, so we come back here to Curitiba for the season opener. It's Chevrolet versus Peugeot all over again in the V8 stock cars. If you're not sure what the Brazilian V8 stock cars are and haven't seen them before, if you think kind of DTM and V8 supercars mixed together with a bit of NASCAR thrown in there as well, and of course with just the Brazilian stuff to add their own little bit of flair to it as well, and that will be this weekend on the 16th of November. Be sure to join in. It will be myself commentating on that one alongside Ryan Callan, so that should be pretty fun. The next one after that is going to be the Virtual Touring Masters, which will kick off their first round at the 1988 version of Spa. And that first race is going to be on this time next week. So you have to be pushing forwards and see if you can watch that one, because that should be a pretty intriguing one. If you've never seen the DRM cars before, go and look them up on YouTube. Look for the DRM mod on R Factor. You've got some awesome cars in there, such as the BMW M1 Pro car, the Lancia BT Monte Carlo Turbo, the Ford Zaxby Capri, and the Porsche 935. Some awesome machines in there as well. And hopefully that is going to be a series that you guys will enjoy. Of course, we've moved on from the old touring car legends, the Group A cars of the Ford Sierras and the Holden Commodores and such. We've now moved on to something a bit more powerful and tasty. And then next week, the end of that week after that, which is the weekend after next, after this, it's going to be the first round of the inaugural TPS 2014 Virtual Carrera Cup. Now, we use the Flat 6 racer from the NG Racers mod, which is done for the Endurance Series mod made by NG Racers. Now, the Flat 6, pretty much, it looks like a Porsche Cup car, sounds like a Porsche Cup car, and drives like a Porsche Cup car, but it's not one, because there were some licensing issues with Porsche when NG Racers were developing the mod, which was originally going to be a standalone Carrera Cup mod for R Factor 2, but then Porsche came in and said, no, you haven't got the license, you cannot call it a Porsche, so the car is named after the engine that it uses, which is the Flat 6, and that will be the following weekend at Monza. So, plenty of stuff to keep you occupied over the winter, and be sure to tune in on the website, of course, TouringProSeries.com. You can also follow us on Facebook.com/TouringProSeries, Twitter.com/Touring_Pro, and also be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, YouTube.com/TouringProSeries, where all of the broadcasts get loaded up before in full. And also you can look back through the archives and look back at pretty much almost every single broadcast that TPS has ever run for our championships, and pick up a few golden oldies and some of your old favourites and what you watched before. So be sure to look there on the YouTube channel as well. Of course, a quick thanks to our guys at InsideSimRacing.tv for hosting our forums, to guys that we support such as Cancer Research UK, Live Racers, of course, for providing our live timing, MultiBC for the broadcast, and SimSync Pro to allow all the drivers to obtain all the cars and tracks that we need for this series. So, John, a minute left to go. What can we expect in race 2? Pretty much more exactly the same, would have thought. More chaos, more overtaking, more panel bashing, more classic action that Touring Pro Series always likes to provide with the minis.
I can't really say what we're going to happen next because, of course, it's the most unpredictable thing. Yeah, we have no idea who is going to be up there. It could be Chris Butcher winning again. You don't know, because we could have other drivers that have as much race pace as Chris that didn't manage to show it in the last race. We could see some upsets with Luis Fernandez up there. Dewey Villar will be looking. He has a point to prove because, of course, coming back as the 2012 champion, returning for the 2014 series, he had a bit of a disappointing first race, it has to be said, and he will be looking for redemption. I have to say, my driver from the first race that I was really impressed with was Miguel Neto, picking up a 5th position, even though he's just getting used to game stock car and the track. So, really good job from him. And just before we go into the race session, a couple of bits of Touring Pro Series news. I know Danny Asbury is working very hard on a Touring Pro Series trailer at the moment, or trailer for various series, so be sure to check them out when they are released. Also, the second edition of the Touring Pro Series driver podcast, or all-time top 20 drivers podcast, should be out within the next few, I don't know, it's been recorded, I can assure you of that, and you definitely want to give that a listen because there's some really controversial moments, there's some very interesting lists, and of course we reveal Touring Pro Series, top 20 greatest drivers, and also a few extras at the end of drivers we think maybe in the future, and also drivers who should have made the list. So yeah, really exciting news for Touring Pro Series. After the long break, we are back bigger than ever with more things to offer you all. So be sure, as Scott said, to keep an eye on TouringProSeries.com, the Facebook, Twitter and YouTube pages. And that being said, we are about to return for the second race of the virtual mini challenge. So Scott, as we line up on the grid, we shall do the same as we did before. Let me just get back to the game. And we will start from the back of the grid. And if that's okay, Scott, could you take us from the back of the grid until the 15th spot for race 2, round 1 from Curitiba?
I reckon I can do that, not a problem. So, from the back of the grid and starting from 29th and last is Kostas Kaludis. And then he'll start all on his own on row number 15. Row 14 sees Lewis McGlade starting to the outside, and David Nannon 27th to his inside. Row 13 on the outside will be Ben Hackerson, and then on the inside will be Scott Sobick in P25. On to row 12 with Nick Hughes in 24th position, and I think I had to get this right. It's Fell. I think it's Fell Stefan
Shell Stenbeck.
Shell. That's
as I found out just before the race, and someone's crashed on the outlap.
I think is that Kostas Kaludis? It is Kostas Kaludis. Oh, Kostas, what are you doing?
Sorry, we caught that on the broadcast, but anyway, we better just let him crash in peace. We'll continue with the rundown.
Whilst Kostas rejoins from his mishap, that's Shell. Yeah, Shell Stenbeck is now 23rd. 22nd is Ben Richards for Aerostream, that fantastic looking black, dark blue, black and gold car. Then 21st is Arishuk Razvan. And then we've got into the top 20, we've got Ryan Callan with Tommy Oyala alongside him on row 10. Javi de Carvalho starts 18th on row 9 with Ethan Bassett ahead of him. And then rounding out row 8, and I'll let John Munro continue after that. We've got Allison in P16, and in 15th place Reese Gardner. Take it away, John.
14th place, the man who finished 5th in the previous race, Miguel Neto. In 13th for Optimum Sim Racing is Jonathan Ockercliffe, who sprung a surprise in race 1. Will he repeat himself in this race? Jimmy Hughes will be starting in 12th behind Rasmus Salo, the fastest of the THR Blue cars. He has a point to prove. Eric de Veit in 10th after a strong 4th position in the first race, with his teammate who finished 2nd, Eric Strachan, in 9th. 8th position on the grid is Thomas Matizowski, and he follows the hard-charging George Talbot in 7th. Toby Davis for THR Orange will be starting in 6th. Season 2012, should I say, champion Peter Duivelar is on the 3rd row. On the 2nd row, 4th position, Pedro Amaral. He'll be looking to spring an upset here. Luis Fernandez, another man for Smile, in 3rd. And the front row, the THR red duo of Chris Butcher and Robert Wiesenmuller.
So, car 1 in P1 and car 2 in P2. Wiesenmuller on the left, Butcher on the right. Watch out for Luis Fernandez and Pedro Amaral. They could be dark horses. You can see it also. Car 20, Toby Davis aiming his car towards the middle of the track to get the best possible launch. All set for another 17 laps. Race 2 of round 1 of the 2014 Virtual Mini Challenge. Will Wiesenmuller win it? Will it be Butcher? Revs are up. Waiting for the start here in the second race. Lights out, and we're racing at Curitiba once again. Equal launch from the front row. Wiesenmuller looks as though he's level with Chris Butcher off the line. Fernandez gets into P3. With Amaral looking like he's gone away. It looks like everyone's got an equal launch, all holding station. But now here comes the carambolage down towards turn 1. It looks like Wiesenmuller will get the whole shot into the first corner, under braking. Indeed he does. So Wiesenmuller holds it from Butcher in 2nd. Fernandez 3rd. I can see Duivelar up the inside of Amaral. That's for P4. Gets it done. And Toby Davis is also up there in P7, being passed by George Talbot. So the 2 THR red cars have the lead. And now we look back from Robert Wiesenmuller. There is the seeding pack behind him. So up towards turn 4 they come then. So Wiesenmuller still leads it. The pack tightly congested together. And Fernandez doing well to keep with the 2 THR cars in front. And I'm pretty sure this time that Wiesenmuller won't have an easy time trying to get away from Butcher, because we know the pace he showed in race 1. And look behind, look at that. The pack, it's starting again already, as we've now got Duivelar at the head of this group. Amaral in P5 with Talbot 6th. Oh, and Talbot's at it again. He's hit the back of Amaral. Pushed him a little bit wide through Pinorino and got his nose up the inside. He's just pulling level up towards the S's. Amaral, I'm sure, will not have any of that as he sweeps across towards the left-hander. He has to give him room, and also Estrada's getting himself involved as well. Tvite's looking on also, and so is Toby Davis. Exiting the S's down towards Vittoria. Top 3 starting to break away slightly. Duivelar almost to no man's land, and here comes both Strana and Davis.
Oh,
Talbot,
that's going to be a big crash if they're not careful.
Talbot's around. Tvite's got it sideways. How did he hold that? That was incredible. Side up the inside. Allison sideways after contact with Ossiclin. And down the pit straight they come again. It's Wiesenmuller who leads. Butcher 2nd. Fernandez 3rd. Then Duivelar, Amaral, Strana, Davis, Hughes, Talbot and Solomon on the top 10. But how long is that going to last? Side by side, Amaral and also Strana. And look at Davis poking his nose in as well. Down towards turn 1. Under brakes. And they've got Strada up the inside and holds it for P5. Duivelar's broken away and onto the back of Fernandez already. And now Talbot, and they're all still closely packed together at the back of the field already as they charge through, all 29 of them. And the last few stragglers coming through. And in the front, is that chase for the lead? Is that Butcher up the inside of Wiesenmuller? I think it is. Wiesenmuller had the inside run, so Butcher had the inside run, but Wiesenmuller shut the door, as Butcher wasn't far enough alongside him. Wiesenmuller went deep enough into the corner to hold on. Fernandez 3rd and Duivelar 4th. So already this time, John, unlike race 1, we've got a 4-car train and they're breaking away pretty quickly.
Yeah, definitely, but just like race 1, it's the THR red duo that get the best of the start.
Oh, behind! Contact! I think that was Amaral. It was Amaral, I think.
I think it was, but look at this gaggle of cars behind them. Jimmy Hughes in 7th, Toby Davis 8th, George Talbot in 9th, and they're going 4 wide into the S's, which is not the place I'd choose if I wanted to have that kind of party going on. And look at this drifting as Jimmy Hughes is sideways, manages to hold it thanks to the front wheel drive, but good piece of driving from him. It looks like Ockerclin's trying to get involved. He's down the inside of, that is Ockerclin, down the inside of Jimmy Hughes, and also looking at the back of Rasmus Salo. As we follow on, and we keep an eye on the leaders because there's only 2 tenths between them. Robert Wiesenmuller, car number 1, reigning champion, leads across the line. Chris Butcher, race 1 winner. The car number 2 is the classic battle between 2 teammates, 1 and 2. Will Butcher look down the inside? He doesn't there. Wiesenmuller holds his line. Fernandez is looking to get involved in the act. He is, of course, one of the guys we've been keeping an eye on throughout this event in the beautiful green Smile car. And Robert Wiesenmuller looks back on the liveries that he designed, of course, Chris Butcher and Luis Fernandez. And they head down at the start of lap 3. It is Wiesenmuller from Butcher, from Fernandez, from Duivelar. He's had a slightly better start in 4th. And Eric Strand is a bit of a gap back to him in 5th. As Butcher tries to get down the inside of Wiesenmuller. Wiesenmuller's left him too big a gap. And Butcher cleanly takes the lead from his compatriot. Will Wiesenmuller have a look down the inside into the hairpin? He's going to have the better line, and it looks like he's going to do it. Will Luis Fernandez get involved in this? in the number 9 Smile car. He's having a look down the inside of Chris Butcher, I think it is. And Visa Miller holds on to the lead. Now Duivelar is right up on the back of Louis Fernandez, and they're all at it again, Scott.
Oh, at it again, are they ever? As now look at this, they're going 2 by 2, it's almost like tandem NASCAR drafting through these sesses. As Visa Miller holds on to the lead per second, of course. And then Fernandez under pressure from Duivelar. So it's good to see both the champions from 2012 and 2013 in the top 4 and racing in close proximity to each other. Back onto the pit straight once again to start lap 4. And what kind of a run will Butcher go? A nice little exit onto the pit straight. And let's see if we can pull and level it alongside to try and make it stick. Here he comes. Race 1 winner Chris Butcher. As Talbot sets the fastest lap of the race at 1:33.07. And look at that, Visa Miller much better under brakes than Butcher. Look at that, and Fernandez going deep under brakes and almost hits the back of Butcher's car. Couldn't get it stopped in time, but just about gets it back onto the road in front of Duivelar. As Strana closes in P5, he's pulled away from Amaral, and Amaral himself has pulled away from Talbot. As behind Rasmus Salo going side to side with Toby Davis as they filter through turn 3 and onto the back straight, and back towards turn 4 again. Now then, this time Fernandez holding on with Duivelar, trying to brave it out around the outside. He's a brave boy if he can pull it off, but it didn't work. And that just allows Strana back into play here for P5. So, the top 2 pulling away as you'd expect. The reigning champions. First and second of a title. I think Butcher trying to get his nose up the inside, as you can see, just at the head of the field. As we now look from Eric Strana's car to the right, that is Peter Duivelar. And almost getting inside Peter Duivelar. Has to duck back in behind the Walk Racing car, the wonderful black and gold livery car, reminiscent of those JPS Lotuses. Obviously this isn't a JPS Lotus, it's a Walk Racing Mini, and just as prominent though. Down towards the long right-hander once again, which is called Vittoria. And I wonder what can happen this time. Well, I'm sure that Duivelar will get the toe from Fernandez, and likewise Strana on Duivelar. And Amaral is fallen back from this one, and behind there's more battling going on, and that's Salo shoving Talbot towards the pit wall. Incredible stuff. And also just behind we've got Jimmy Hughes and Toby Davis in the tow in 10th and 9th respectively. So down towards turn 1 they come again. More fireworks, I'm presuming. Let's see how this all shakes out. Salo under brakes, Davis up the inside of Talbot.
Nice
Brilliant out-braking move, he gets it done.
He's off again the same place.
Davis sideways. Whoa, Davis sideways, and he gets back in front, just in front of NATO, and also off the cliff, and Allenson. And Callan's in there too, P14. Tvite's back in P15 after a poor qualifying, battling with Malazewski. You can see the background, the other yellow THR car in the background, THR Orange as they're called, battling with the blue ice cold racing Mini with the Norwegian flag on the top. That's young Eric Tvite. And Otterklint goes wide onto the grass, and ahead I could see that was Neto duelling with Davis once again. And also at the front I can see that Talbot is duelling with, I think, is that possibly Jimmy Hughes? It is Jimmy Hughes. Look at this fantastic scrappers. Otterklint went side to side with Callan. And now you can see that Tvite and Madazewski fancy a piece of the action also. They sweep through the S's once again. And trying to go again round the outside, but he might get the inside line for the next corner, and he has done. He's forced Otterklint wide, and will he push him onto the grass a little bit? He will, yes, but that gives Tvite the advantage into the final corner, and he has taken it. So Tvite is up into P.O.
Oh, Otterklint's going to lose a lot of speed.
He will, and that will give Otterklint a great chance as Beesma sets the fastest lap of the race at 32.9. So it's fast and frantic once again in the midfield as the 2 THR cars continue to lead, John.
Yeah, in, of course, flying formation. Visa Miller on a 132.9, repeating what they did last year. Unfortunately, in the 2013 season, we did miss the first round broadcast due to technical issues. And this season, I am so glad we're not, because it's the same 2 guys out front, albeit a fantastic scrap for the rest of the field. It does look like it's, the 2 THR red guys out front and the rest of the field all in 3rd. Louis Fernandez is the man who heads that group. Eric Strana is in 4th. Duivelar is in 5th. Now, he's going to be slightly disappointed that he's not able to keep pace with the THR guys at the moment. I'm not sure if it's due to the lack of maybe the teammates that have got the the best setups, as you say, for the track. But he doesn't seem to be quite on the pace here. He doesn't seem to quite have the flow of the track, and he's struggling in the racing situations to be able to make the moves. Maybe it's just the fact that he's been out for a year, a bit rusty, but we're saying that he's still in 5th position in an incredibly competitive series, but he's just showing that even if you're a champion, you're not invincible by any means, and he shows the strength and depth in this championship is unreal. Speaking of strength and depth, you know, your likes of Amaral, who's just moved over, getting used to the track and the car, which he's never driven before. He says he's still getting used to it, and he's not very comfortable here, but he's definitely doing a good job in 6th, ahead of Rasmus Salo for THR Blue. Jimmy Hughes is 8th, or not be for much longer if it goes like this, because Toby Davis is hounding him in 9th as Chris Butcher sets the fastest lap of the race. Does this mean there's a battle going on for the lead? It does look like Butcher's right behind Wiesemüller, so we should probably keep an eye on this one at the moment.
Definitely should. Back on the brakes again, and Wiesemüller holding on for the moment. A little bit sideways on the exit there, he classes the curb, and behind you can see it's all still kicking off for 3rd between Strana, Fernandez and Duivlar, and their battles are just bringing both Rasmus Salo and Pedro Amaral into play here. Now then, could be dangerous. Butcher literally pushing Wiesemüller down the back straight, saying, come on, Robert, get on with it. You may be the reigning champion, but I won race 1, and I have got the ultimate pace, and I need to get past you in order to try and win race 2. I'm sure Wiesemüller would love to try and take a race victory after being denied it in race 1 and time to take 3rd place. Of course, both were split by Eric Strana, so we'll have to wait and see how that turns out as they continue on towards the hairpin. And again, Wiesemüller has that better line on the outside, but Butcher seems to be faster off the corner, and the toe he gets down the straight will definitely help him out here. There's the battle behind for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. They pulled away from Toby Davis, who has got around Jimmy Hughes, and Miguel Neto rounds out the top 10 with Savite, Talbot, Callan, Osserklint, Matazeski and Oyala rounding out the top 16. Looking back down the field, we've got Ethan Bass and Javier de Carvalho, Ben Richards, Nick Hughes, Scott Sovic, and we've lost a few cars. We've lost Shell Stenbeck, Rhys Gardner and David Nannon now to the race too, so we've lost 3 cars, and at the back of the field we can see Kostas Kaloudis has got ahead of Lewis McGlade after his spin on the formation lap. Now then, back to the front, Butcher with the fastest lap of the race, a 32.588. Butcher is flying. Will he dive to the inside this time? Surely he must do. He's looks to be the quicker of the 2 THR red cars at the moment. But surely Wiesemüller is just being given the hurry up here by Chris, and again a much faster exit off turn 3. And Butcher, I know it's the first race of the season, but surely these two have got to start. Butcher's got to try and make his move at some point. He looks to the inside again. He's going to think about it this time. He must be listening, because here he comes down the inside, and Butcher's got his nose in front. I think he's made the move stick. I think he's done it. Wiesemüller has to yield and give him room, and Wiesemüller has lost the lead. So Chris Butcher, the man who won race 1, is back into the lead and into race 2, leading race 2 for the first time it seems. So under brakes for Piñarino. Now the question is, with the pace that Butcher's showing, does Wiesemüller have any response? Back to the battle for 4th place. Strana trying to break away from those two, as Duivlar looks like he has got around Luis Fernandez whilst we're watching that battle for the lead. And now we've also got Davis in 8th, who's now chasing after both Rasmus Salo and Pedro Amaral. No, Rasmus Salo, yeah, Pedro Amaral, and then Toby Davis 8th, with Jimmy Hughes 9th and Miguel Neto rounding up the top 10. But he's been chased down, of course, by Eric Tveit and George Talbot, with Ryan Callan and Todd Badazeski scrapping over. Look in the background, was that Bass and Oyala? It was. On more hip and shoulder in the side door of the Oyala THR Blue Mini, and looks like amazingly Bass will get the run of the. Oh, that was cheeky. You think? No, that was silly. I'm sorry, that was silly from Tommy Oyala. That was uncalled for. That has just ruined. I'm not
sure what that was all about.
I'm sorry to sound biased, but I'm sorry, but I'm going to call it. That was stupid driving from Tommy there. There was no need for that. There was a bit of clip and shoulder. That's acceptable. That you get a bit of contact in touring car racing, but that from Tommy was beyond borderline. That was just silly.
Yeah, that was pretty dangerous stuff from Tommy, and I'm sure he will have a very long visit with the stewards panel after that one. But I'm not quite sure how that one developed, but it did seem like a bit of a crazy incident, and you've got to feel bad for Ethan Bass, who's ended up, I think it was Ethan Bass actually, I'm not quite sure, I better just check. It was Ethan Bass, yeah, so real gutted for the Scotsman, but I'm sure he'll be able to bounce back for round 2. And Chris Butcher leads the race from Robert Wiesemüller then. Only 3/10 between them still, so you know, I was expecting Butcher to maybe be able to pull a gap. We saw in race 1 he has maybe that slight edge over Wiesemüller in pace, but when Robert's in the slipstream he doesn't seem to be able to break it, the Englishman does. So yeah, it's just looking difficult at the moment. I was expecting Chris to just pull away, but Robert is keeping him in tow. He's got a good run out of the last corner, but I don't think he's going to be able to do anything into turn 1 as they're going to cross the line to begin lap 10 of 17. the second race here at Curitiba, and it has absolutely flown by. We've got Eric Strand still in third ahead of Dweevelaar, but nothing really developing there. This is the battle at the moment, and it does look like Butcher's just hanging on in there. Wiesenmüller not doing anything crazy at the moment, managing to maintain the gap to his teammate, not make any mistakes, because he'll lose a lot of time if he does that. And see, maybe Wiesenmüller is actually just going to try and stay behind Butcher for the rest of the race until right towards the end. He might be trying to save his tyres. We don't know. It looks like something's happened towards here. Miguel Neto's had a problem, and he has. Unfortunately, we can't see a replay, but I just saw him dropping through the order there, and it's a bit of a nightmare second race for the man who finished in the top 5 in race 1. So it's a bit of a shame for him, because he showed he had good pace, but of course you can't have good pace all the time. As Uyala comes down the inside, I'm sure he'll have a bit of damage after that incident earlier on, a bit more bashing from Uyala, so he's obviously in a pretty aggressive mood today, is Tommy Uyala, the THR Blue driver. He's going to try and hold the outside line, but yeah, and he does do. So Neto drops a further position. I'm starting to wonder whether he has damage, or it might have just been simply because he lost a lot of pace in the Sector 1, where he clearly had an incident. And look at the man who's... No, sorry. I'm looking for Eric Tveit, thinking that was him behind, but he's not actually that far ahead. He's only in 10th position. And if Eric doesn't gain more positions quickly, which is going to be difficult because he's got Jimmy Hughes and George Talbot around him, he's going to be disappointed with that kind of finish, especially after his 4th position in race 1.
It's very true. Quite intriguing that the race seems to have come down at this point, and compared to what it was at race 1, it was very fast and frantic. It still is, but there's not as much bumping and barging as there was before. So it seems that these guys have learnt their lesson. I know that Ryan Callan, who is of course the admin of TouringProSeries, are racing in this race, and he's currently 12th behind George Talbot. There's a second between Talbot and Callan at the moment, but I know Ryan did say in the server chat that he wanted to see a little bit more cleaner racing in race 2. That'd be very much appreciated. It seems that they're respecting his wishes, and they are just toning down the aggressions. Of course, I think it was all the kind of hype, all the excitement all the drivers had. You know, back in the minis, of course, the nature of how the cars are, and I think just getting back into racing, and of course, it kind of what you build up all that pent-up excitement, all that tension, all that adrenaline, and it all seems to just come out flooding all at once. It floods out all at once, and of course, sometimes the adrenaline and the excitement gets the better of some drivers, and they just get overexcited. Of course, that causes a bit of bumping and barging, which is what you get from touring car racing. A bit of panel bashing, a bit of bit of paint swapping, and other descriptive terms that I could use, which I've kind of run out of using at the moment. So I'll go and think of some more at the moment. But Wiesenmüller still second place, still hounded back a teammate Butcher. And you might have a point at what you said there, Johnny. You might just be sitting there thinking, okay, Trace, you just sit there and lead the race for a while. I bet you may just force him wide to outbrake himself. Because look at that, Butcher went pretty deep into the first part of the final corner, and that has given Wiesenmüller the super little exit he needs onto the pit straight. This could be another change of a lead here down the pit straight. Looks as though Butcher's maybe got the measure, but that toe will start to kick in eventually, and here he comes. And which way is Wiesenmüller going to go, if any? He's looking to the outside. Will he switch to the inside at the last minute? No, he doesn't. He sits back and just waits and thinks, no, I'm going to sit and make my move here. Just wait patiently, because Butcher seems to be slightly under pressure now. He's in front. Clash the curve at the second part.
He's going to make
and now side by side on the exit. The two THR cars. These guys were championship rivals and still teammates from 2013. From the last season of minis. Now they're side by side again. Another swap for the lead. Wiesenmüller goes to the inside. Butcher sweeps it around the outside, and incredibly, I think he might just have it.
Oh,
he might have the line he needs.
Driving.
He has got it. So brilliant driving from Butcher. The confidence he had in his car to hold the outside line and hold on to the lead forced Wiesenmüller to think again. Now behind, this is intriguing. Peter Dweevelaar has caught Eric Strana. He's pulled away from Salo, of course, because Amaral has fallen back now. So this is intriguing. Dweevelaar could get himself a podium on his second race back in the minis. Of course, he's been racing before. I think he did the Bathurst 500 back before in the virtual V8 Supers, and of course he was very prominent in the minis in season 1 where he was champion in 2012. But he's come back with walk racing. No precision minis in this race because they were entered, but then decided that they didn't want to be involved in touring car racing. I'm guessing for the winter at the moment anyway, because of course they might be pursuing other exploits in single-seater sim racing as they head down the pit straight once again. And of course now Dweevelaar finds himself at the wheel of the black and gold walk racing car. Just behind there, can see Rasmus Salo's up to 5th. Good performance from him. With Luis Fernandez in 6th after starting on row 2. Pedro Amaral is 7th ahead of Toby Davis in 8th. With Eric Tveit 9th and Jimmy Hughes 10th. And the two THR red cars are at it once again. Looks like gloves are off. And the THR Red boys have said, right, guys are free to race now. You've played around for long enough. I'll go to it and give the fans something they want to see. And this time now, in fact, Wiesenmüller got back in front. Wiesenmüller was back in front. I didn't notice that, in fact. I thought he was still in front, but Butcher back up the inside. Looking from the fantastic aerial camera from the helicopter. And Butcher retakes the lead. So, brilliant, clean racing. I think this is a great example to show all the guys down in the field who've been kind of, you know, causing contact quite a bit. Two teammates can drive toe-to-toe with each other, and they can race cleanly without too much contact, if any. So great stuff from the two teammates, and it seems to be that at the moment, with the pace that they're setting, I think this could be an omen, John, that we could be seeing Butcher versus Wiesenmüller for the title all over again.
Yeah, it's definitely looking that way so far. I know these guys in particular really get on well with Curitiba, so they're yet to prove themselves on other tracks, but they're definitely setting up a marker down, and they couldn't really do much more. So I can't really talk against that. And as you were saying, yeah, it's a fantastic demonstration of how it should be done. This is incredible racing done cleanly between two guys, not needing okay 5 wide, maybe slightly more difficult to not have contact, but you're not needing to bash into other people all the time. I mean, a little bit of contact is okay, but any kind of major hits that could be avoided are really a bit unnecessary. But it does make the broadcast more exciting. So we'll see how that develops, because there was quite a lot of it in race 1 and a few big incidents in race 2. As it cuts back to the helicopter camera here, Chris Butcher has the lead from Robert Wiesenmüller. We've got 3 laps to go here at Curitiba. And this is really going to kick off in these last 3 laps, if it hasn't already, which you have to say it has. And look, Wiesenmüller's looking at the outside, but he's not going to do it there. Cuts back inside. He needs the slipstream, and he's going to get that now. Will he have a look down to the hairpin? It's quite a proven overtaking zone, but as I said earlier, I still think he's just sitting there waiting for a manoeuvre. I mean, he did take the lead a lap ago, but I think it was due to a slight mistake by Butcher, and he might as well take any chances he can get. Apart from that, there's no point pushing a move in every corner, because the other person is just going to become known to it, and they're going to be able to defend it easily. So that's what Robert Wiesenmüller's doing, and that's one of the traits of his driving style. He's a very clean driver, but he's also very calm, doesn't get into too many tight situations. He waits for his moment, and he will take it, and that is why he is Virtual Mini Challenge 2013 champion, and looking to maintain his title. And this could be a marker, you know, this could be a statement from THR Red, who, whichever driver wins this race, could be saying, I'm the new #1 here, or in Robert's case, I'm still the #1 here. And of course, Chris Butcher is yet to win a TPS title. He's done a lot more races than Robert, he's got a lot more experience, but he always seems to come up second best, despite winning, you know, many races. And Robert came in to THR Red. He wasn't always as quick as Butcher, but he showed last year a mixture of pace and consistency pays off, and this is the ultimate battle between the two, you could say, championship favourites at this point, alongside Dweevelar. As we look back now from Chris Butcher's car, the angry #1 Mini. You never want to see a #1 behind you, because you know the guy's going to be pretty good if he's got that #1 on his windscreen. Wiesenmüller looks to the outside. He's not going to make a move there. He stays tucked into the back behind the TouringProSeries wing of Chris Butcher. Just meanwhile behind, it does look like Dweevelar has closed the gap in Strad, and they are running in Noah's Ark 2x2 at the moment. It looks like 5th and 6th seem to be running in a pair as well. Luis Fernandez, not sure if he can catch Salo, as Dweevelar looks to the outside of Eric Strad. He's not going to do it there, and he's not going to get the cutback, so we'll keep an eye on that one. But meanwhile, we really do need to keep an eye on the main battle. And this is the main show, of course, for position 1 between the two THR Red boys. And Scott, which way do you think this will go?
It's too close to call at the moment, because of course Wiesenmüller is giving Butcher the big hurry up, as Butcher was doing to Wiesenmüller a few laps ago. And they come on to the pit straight, start the penultimate lap. So we've got 2 laps to decide this. It may be a case that it all kicks off on the final lap and they go, you know, shackles are released on both cars and off they go. And look at the exit that Wiesenmüller got. He's very close enough, and Butcher knows he has to go defensive down the pit straight. And Wiesenmüller's got enough pace off that final corner to go side by side with his teammate down the pit straight and towards turn 1. It's a braking duel down towards the first corner. Who's going to win it? They practically hit the brakes at exactly the same time. Butcher has the inside line, but Wiesenmüller's going to hold on. Now there's a shot of the sky, and back at the front, and Butcher has kept it in front, but Wiesenmüller will get the run down the back straight towards turn 4, as Dweevelar's got a run up the inside of Strana for P3. So a change for the podium possibly, and we'll keep an eye on the battle in front, because of course that's still going on between the two THR Red boys with Butcher and Wiesenmüller. But scrap for P3 goes on, and Wiesenmüller's got past. Wiesenmüller is through, but will Butcher get the cutback? I think he will. Side by side on the exit. Butcher gets his nose just in front, is back in the lead, but he has to give space to VC Muller because his teammate is on the inside for Pinheirino. He's squeezing him, giving just about a car's width.
Oh, such clean driving from the two of these guys.
It is great driving, and look at that VC Muller back up the inside and back into the lead. So this is crucial. What will Butcher do this time? Will he back out? Will he be brave and go around the outside? Oh, he's being brave. He's going to try it around. No, he slots back in for the moment, but he knows if he can get a better exit than VC Muller onto that final corner, he will have the advantage starting the final lap. This is exactly what we wanted to see. In race 1, Butcher ran away with it, but race 2, he's being made to work for it, and the man he's making work for it is Robert VC Muller, his teammate and the reigning champion. They come onto the pit straight to start the final lap. It's going to be this, and already look at that. Cross the line, there'll be almost a dead heat. VC Muller has the edge across the line, but here comes Butcher to the outside. Who's going to get it? They're almost touching wheels down towards turn 1. It's another breakage once again. It's in the background. Drivlar to the outside of Strana, but here's the battle for the lead, and Butcher trying to go around the outside. He's across over the curb. There's more cars, like 2 wheels for Butcher, and always gets the cut back on the X. I think he has, but VC Muller has to yield. He has to give him the space, and Butcher with the better run is going to have the inside line down towards turn 4. He has got it, but what will VC Muller do? Well, he goes to the inside. He's going to try, but Butcher will cut him off. But will VC Muller get the inside line on the cutback? No, Butcher's got the run he needs. And Strana is still P3 with Drivlar 4th, Rasmus Salos 5th, Fernandez 6th, Davis 7th, then Amaral to fight, and Ryan Callan up into 10th place. So George Talbot, as VC Muller tries to throw it up the inside of Chris Butcher. He's giving a bit of a tap, but I think he might have to hold on. And this is going to be the brave one. It's down towards the S's. A little bit of a nudge on the left rear corner of Butcher's car to the S's for the last time. And VC Muller may have to fully has to dive up the inside of the final corner. There's now 1 more turn to go. Is it Butcher? Is it VC Muller? Who's going to win race 2 of round 1 at Curitiba? Strana and Drivlar will look on.
It's all about the exit.
It is. It's the run to the flag now, and I think possibly Butcher's done just enough. Out of the final corner, it's going to be a 1-2 for THR, but I believe at the Rhine, is it going to be close? I think it is going to be Butcher towards the flag. Chris Butcher takes 2 wins out of 2 at Curitiba just from teammate Robert VC Muller. Strana 3rd, Drivlar 4th, Rasmus Salo 5th, and Fernandez 6th, Davis 7th. Amaral
looks on the grass.
That's Callan and Talbot, and Callan just nips it of a line from Talbot. Neto 12th, Hughes 13th. Rest of the field comes through. Another battle going on here. That's the 14th. That's Cavalli across the line. And look at that. Ayala just ahead of Allinson. Between the two of them. Cross the line, the rest of them come. There goes Razvan and Richards. And rounding out the top 20 will be across the line as they come through. Sovic 19th and also 20th. Disappointing runs at the end. But there we go. John, what about that for a final lap? VC Muller tried. He was close. Butcher was run hard in the second race. A lot more than race 1. But that's a perfect start for Chris, 2 out of 2, and I'm pretty sure his championship campaign is well on its way, and we could potentially be looking at this season's champion, but of course there is a long way still to go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a sign of things to come right there. Chris Butcher stamping his authority in the team, saying, you know, Robert, there's no chance of you getting this repeat when I'm here, and I'm doing what I'm doing best, which is winning races. And VC Muller, he didn't seem to, I mean, he did have, it's difficult to tell. I don't think he quite had the pace of Butcher, but managed to stay in the slipstream. But it seemed like whenever VC Muller got past, Butcher managed to retake the position as they all peel into the pit lane. But definitely deserving winner. A fantastic, clean battle between the two protagonists of THR Red, Chris Butcher and Robert VC Muller. And those two guys have proved a point, and they want to show that they're the championship favourites, not Peter Duivelar, not Eric Strana, not Eric Tveit, nobody else but those two. One man who may be disappointed with their event is Toby Davis. He didn't seem to have the best of results. But yeah, a fantastic race overall. Not quite as hectic in race 2, but that was probably for the better. And we're being joined by all the drivers here just now. And just before we do the post-race interviews, we're going to go for a quick commercial break and give ourselves a rest. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back with driver interviews in just a moment.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
And welcome back to the post-race interviews of the first round of the Virtual Mini Challenge 2014 from Curitiba. We have seen two fantastic races, should I say, one completely hectic and one sublime. And first of all, the first man we like to talk to is, of course, our double race winner and championship leader, Chris Butcher. And Chris, just talk us through, well, start with that first race, because you managed to just pull away from the field and make it look easy.
It wasn't easy. I was still working very hard to keep the gap up to Eric, to be honest. But yeah, it was a bit of a dream, really. I was hoping that exactly that had happened, and the guys behind me would get into a battle, and it'd let me gap the field. And after I got a 3-second gap, I just eased back the pace a little bit and just made sure I brought it home. Good recovery from Robert as well, actually, to get back on the podium after his battle. So the first race was a good result for me and the team, I think, on that one.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, race 2, not quite as easy for yourself. Just tell us from your perspective what that battle was like with Robert, because it sure was epic on the broadcast.
To be honest with you, there was a bit of confusion between us because we weren't sure what to do. We wanted to get a gap initially to allow us to battle later on. And to start off with, it just wasn't happening, and we were running the real risk of being drawn into a battle with Peter and Eric. But Louis held the pace a bit longer than we thought, so we were able to get a little bit of a gap. And after about 10 laps, we decided that we'd battle to the end. We had a couple of laps of battling, and then realised we'd lost about half a second, so we decided to just run till the penultimate lap in the order we were in, and then it was just race on, really. But I thought Robert was going to get it, actually, but he made a slight mistake at turn 2 on the final lap and let me just get back up the inside. But yeah, very tense, but great fun.
Yeah, great demonstration of fantastic driving. And just one final question for you, Chris. You take a double win, a perfect event, you could say. Is this going to be your championship?
It's hard to say. There's so many people that are in it this season, I think. Obviously, we've not seen the best from Peter this round, I don't think. And the two Erics at Ice Cold are obviously very quick as well, and I think we'll see them come on strong, particularly at Cascavel, I think, because that's not a strong track for me, and Campo Grande as well. It's too early to say. We'll have to see after the next couple of rounds and see where we're at then.
Yeah, so very well done to you, and that was Chris Butcher, double race winner and championship leader. Now, I believe Scott is going to talk to the reigning champion, who came a little bit short today, Robert Miller.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to Chris on that double win. Robert, let's talk to you for a second. Third in race 1, second in race 2 after that battle. So you can't say you're too disappointed. Hopefully, you're not too disappointed with the results from today. Just talk us through race 1, because obviously you had a very hard task trying to come through from row 2, but still, Rob, I think you fought pretty well. It was a very fast and frantic race. How did you see it from your point of view? Because it looks like you had to really work for that third place.
Yeah, well, in the first race, I got Stranne on the first lap in the second corner, but I couldn't really get away from him because he had a draft, and I was on pressure all the time, had to defend. And at one point, Stranne and Dwight got through as well, and I was getting into a fight with Dwight. Lots of contact. I was getting really, really angry, and somehow I managed to survive it and finish the race in third position.
And then moving on to race 2, of course, position. You then moved on to the battle with Chris. And just talk us through how the battle developed from your point of view, because of course Chris said you got a bit confused between the two, what you wanted to do. But overall, how was it for you? You just missed out, but I guess, how did it feel to battle with Chris so early on in the season? Does it kind of precede, of course, what's going to be the follow-up for the rest of the championship, you think?
Well, we weren't really confused when we were driving with each other. We were trying to battle when we had enough gap so that we still keep the 1-2 for sure. And when we started to battle in lap 12 or 11, then we saw that we lose too much time, then we get caught. So we just decided to wait a little longer and battle on the last 2 laps. And I've battled with Chris before, and it's actually really good fun. And this time I just missed out. But, well, I'm pretty sure, considering the pace he has, considering the pace I have, we'll get some more chances to battle with each other in this season. And, well, I hope, of course, that this will be a championship battle.
And talking about the championship, of course, Chris now takes the early lead with a double victory. Of course, you're still in there with your 2 podiums. Do you think it's going to be possible for you to retain your championship, or do you think this season with the caliber of drivers it's going to be a lot harder?
It's definitely possible.
Bold words there from the reigning champion Robert Wiesenmuller. Well, congratulations on your 2 podiums today. Very well fought. And I believe John has the man who finished 3rd in race 2, race 1 and so 2nd in race 1 and 3rd in race 2, Eric Strana. John.
Yep, Eric obviously had a couple of strong races, managed to fend off Peter in the second one, but we'll talk about that in a minute. How was that event for you? Did it meet your expectations?
Well, yes and no. I mean, qualifying 1 went pretty good. I got a final, just last lap dash, and just missed out on pole. Chris did a great job. I got a great lap, and yeah, like Rob said, I lost him into turn 2. And then there was some shuffling, as I heard you saw, and bent fenders and bent opinions, I think. But I think we'll manage to figure that out for the next round. And yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting too much. I was struggling to keep the car on track and keeping the tires under me for once. But I mean, it could have gone worse, like it did for Twite, but it's still not quite where I want it to be. But still, 2nd and 3rd, it could be a lot worse. So yeah, it's decent, I guess.
And that second race, of course, with the 3rd position, you managed to fend off Peter Dweevelaar in the closing laps when we were kind of switching between the battles for the lead and the battle for 3rd, because we didn't know either one of which way it was going to go. So talk us through that battle with Peter.
Yeah, I was keeping him at bay for a good 5 or 6 laps or something. But then lap 15, 16, he really started to come up, and then lap 16, he got a good run out of the last corner and into turn 1. I tried. I'm not sure if I gave him enough room. I know I cut turn 2, so I let off on the exit to give him a bit of a fair chance. To just not to fly past him. Like, I didn't cut at all, which I know I did, so I let off. But he was really fast in the closing laps, which I wasn't. I managed to overheat the left front. So I just managed to sneak on. I hope I wasn't being too rough with him, but I could see that Chris and Rob were battling quite hard. So I just hoped that they would have a little moment or something. But oh well, the 3rd is starting 9th and getting 3rd isn't. I'm not going to complain about that one at all. That was great fun, actually.
Yeah, so very well done, Eric. That was Eric Strana, took 2 podiums today, and that should put him equal 2nd in the championship, I believe, with Robert Wiesenmuller. And Scott now is going to talk to a man who may be slightly frustrated / disappointed with his event today, Toby Davis.
Yeah, Toby, let's just talk about your race from that point of view. Race 1, again, in the thick of it, like most of the guys, and then there was a point when you kind of exited stage left across the grass.
Yes.
What it looks like, yeah. I understand. I imagine you're probably not too pleased about that, and I can imagine. I think possibly it may have been George Talbot who caused that. But just talk us through what happened from your point of view in race 1, because of course it was going well up to that point, battling to the field, and all of a sudden that happened.
Yeah, I had really quite good pace here, to be honest, and probably got a bit too involved and came out on the worst end, to be honest. But sometimes it goes in your favour, sometimes it doesn't, and yeah, it's going to be fun watching the replay.
Certainly will be, but you finished outside the top 10 in the first race, and then in race 2 you had a better time. You kind of still qualified on the top 10, a little bit lower down than you were before, but still had some decent battles, and it was a more settled race too. So just talk us through from your point of view, because you still finished in the top 10 with some decent points. Yeah,
it was a more settled race too. Again, I had better pace than my results showed, I feel. I wasn't as quick, don't get me wrong, I wasn't as quick as RW and Chris today. They were outstanding, and there was 1 or 2 others who were up near their pace, but a couple of tenths a lap, it really does screw you, to be honest, at Curitiba, because obviously you shuffled so far back and you lose a slipstream. But yeah, I did feel that I got that again, the wrong end of the stick, and got shuffled down, shuffled down the order. I fought back through the pack a bit, and people were taking each other out in front of me, so that helped a little bit. But yeah, 7th is not where I envisaged finishing race 2. To be honest, I was hoping for at least 1 podium today.
Now, of course, you're used to doing pretty well in front-wheel drive cars. You were season 3 champion for the Clios, and you were kind of almost in the championship, also in the championship hunt this year for the Tom they're called Clios as well. You covered a double-end question. First of all, how differences are there between driving the Mini and the Clio that you found the most significant? And also, based off of that, how do you rate your chances for this season in the championship?
Well, it's night and day how you drive the Clio to how you drive this. The Clio is all about aggressive inputs, making the front tyres work in the throttle and cornering phase, and the slip angle that you need is much higher with the Clio. With the Mini, you want to have minimum slip angle. They're so light on the rear end that any exaggeration in the steering input, and you just end up washing out wide. And you've got to use the throttle to balance the car, and as soon as you get it slightly sideways, you do lose quite a lot of time actually, and it was something I was struggling with towards the start of last season. Finally nailed it towards the end of the season. I've just got to get back into that smooth driving style, which to be honest doesn't suit me, but it's the way you've got to drive these cars. So it is what it is. I've just got to adjust it and make sure it happens in the next few rounds.
Well, fingers crossed you can come back from that in the next couple of rounds, but for now, a decent effort nonetheless from what happened today, Toby. Fingers crossed you can progress from there.
No worries.
And we're going to finish up quickly. John has, I believe, Eric Tveit, the other Ice Cold racing driver, who had mixed fortunes today. John.
Yep, Eric, of course you did a good job in race 1, managed to pick up a 4th. So first of all, tell us about that battle you had with all the, especially Robert and Eric Strana at the start of the first race. So talk us through that.
Let's just say that I think it was really rough. I know that I did some things which wasn't allowed, and that I got involved in stuff of which other drivers did, which was not allowed, and a bit of bips and bobs and pieces flying everywhere. Yeah, it's just a bit messy to be the first round, but I don't know. Kind of wanted a cleaner race, but yeah.
And for this season, of course, Eric, everyone knows you've got the pace to win the races. Do you think you're going to be able to mount any kind of championship challenge, or what are your realistic targets?
Probably not having a very good chance at championship, but I think I can definitely take single race victories and help Strana getting his championship.
Alright, well thank you very much for that, Eric, and good job in race 1, unlucky in race 2, but we'll see you again for round 2. And just before I hand you over to Scott to finish off, I'd like to thank all the drivers for talking to us and racing, providing some spectacular action. Thank Inside Sim Racing, Cancer Research UK, Live Racers and Multi BC, who all provide a lot to Touring Pro Series. And this has been the Virtual Mini Challenge Season 2014, Round 1 from Curitiba. Be sure to head to TouringProSeries.com for the latest news and information. Follow us on Facebook at Facebook.com/TouringProSeries. Follow on Twitter at Twitter.com/Touring_Pro. And you can catch all the broadcasts on YouTube.com/TouringProSeries. So Scott, if you'd like to just one final time tell everyone about the upcoming events, and then we can round off the show.
Absolutely. So, the next action coming up then for our next events for the Win Series is going to be the first round of the ever-popular Virtual Supertech Series based on the Brazilian V8 stock cars. That should be myself and Ryan Callan taking to the microphone for that event, and that'll be this weekend, this Saturday the 16th of November. And that will be once again here at Curitiba, so we'll see Peugeots and Chevrolets going at it once again as they rumble around this circuit, which has just been teared around by the Minis, as you've seen this evening in tonight's 2 races. The next event after that will be the following Tuesday. That will be the first round of the brand new Virtual Touring Masters using the incredible DRM Group 5 race cars such as the Ford Zaxby Capri, the BMW M1 Pro car, the Porsche 935 and Lancia Beta Monte Carlo Turbo. Some awesome cars which take the place of the Touring Car Legend Group A machines. That will be taking place next Tuesday on the 19th of November. Same time as this one, to be sure to tune in for that. And then the big one that everyone is building up to the following Saturday the 23rd of November. It is the big one. It'll be myself and Danny Asbury commentating for that one. It is going to be the inaugural round of the Virtual Carrera Cup. We've got some big interest on that. We've got teams and drivers from Precision, THR, Twister, Go Speed, Volkswagen Scirocco R-Cup champion Kelvin van der Linde is coming back to Touring Pro Series, and I've even heard some rumblings that a certain Stoffel Van Dorn may be making an appearance or two as well. So you definitely do not want to miss this, because this is going to be possibly one of the biggest hype championships of the year, if not ever. With the caliber of drivers that could be in this series, and the potential it has with the awesome Flat 6 car from NG Racers, this could be one hell of a championship. Be sure to tune in Saturday, 23rd November. First round is going to be at Monza. Should be an absolute riot. So our next round, of course, the time that you'll see the minis is going to be the second round of the championship. And I will bring up in a second, unless someone can pop in the chat when the next race is, or where the next race is, because I forget on that one, possibly. I really should have the calendar up, but I don't have those at the moment, unfortunately. Of a pain. Let's see. So I'll give you that in a second. Apologies, this is rather unprofessional for me. That I should have had the calendar up earlier on. Let's have a look. Here we go. Right, so the next race, 26th November, and that'll be at the Curva Sul layout of Jacarapagua, which is now no longer around, because of course they've demolished the site to make way, of course, for both. I think it's for the Olympic Games, which they're going to hold in 2016 around in Rio. So be sure to tune in for that for the next round of the minis. But until then, for myself, Scott Woodwiss, and of course from John Munro, thank you very much for watching. Chris Butcher takes the early championship lead with a double header of race victories. Can he keep it up in Jacarapagua? Find out in 2 weeks' time. But until then, from all of us here at the Touring Pro Series, thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Bye for now.